Yep. Get it.
Okay, we're going to call this July 1st meeting of the Vance County Board of Commissioners to order. And if we could, we'd like to ask Reverend Joseph Ratliff to come forward and lead us in invocation.
Let us pause for a word of prayer. Eternal Father, we thank you for this time that we can gather together, and we thank you for America, which will celebrate her 248th birthday this week. Thank you for those who are part of North Carolina, and especially for those who are part of Vance County and the city of Henderson. We thank you for these officials and for all those serving agencies that serve the citizenry here. And now, as this meeting has been called to order, our prayer is that you will grace us with your presence and give these your servants the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, and everything that they need to make the decisions that are necessary for the people of this area. Thank you for all these petitions in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Ratliff. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the ABC Composite Board is to meet to reappoint the members and the chair to the ABC Board. I think we have Randy Oxendine, the chair of the Vance County Board of Commissioners here. Is the mayor here? Okay, then we'll go ahead and proceed. On the agendas, the recommendation is to believe Arnold Bullock and Judge Henry Banks have asked to be reappointed, submitted letters requesting to be reappointed by the ABC Board for a 3-year term. And there have been 2 other individuals who have applied. So we would like consideration. So what would be the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to reappoint Arnold Bullock and Judge Henry Banks to the respective term. I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So that would be the appointments for the ABC Board. Okay. No one registered to speak for public comments tonight. So the next item on the agenda would be Frankie Noblesville, our employee engagement team.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We'll start this evening out on a good note with our employee of the month this month. This young lady is coming from the tax office. Her peers had this to say about her. She's always willing to lend a helping hand to colleagues. She regularly offers valuable insights that help improve our overall process. She's a proactive approach to solve problems that help improve our daily operations. On her day off, she will come in before hours when she thinks of something that will help us in her absence. She will push through knowing she may need to go home. Even though she is a collection portion of the tax office, she takes the time to help out with the overload of work on the assessor side of the department. She's always says, "Tell me what I can do to make your job easier, and I will do it." This month's employee of the month is Erin McGee. I have Erin and Ms. Porter.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would just like to say that Erin is a very good employee. She's a huge asset to the tax office and to Vance County government. She deserves this recognition as Employee of the Month. And she has been with us about 3 years. And she's, like Frankie said, she's always willing to help. She always come and ask, "Is there anything I can do to make your job easier?" So, and she volunteers with Little Sweet, whatever we need her to volunteer for, she volunteers. So that's why we want to recognize her as Employee of the Month.
County Attorney, we need to wait till 6:15 to start the public hearings. Is that correct?
What time did we say 6:15 or 6 or sooner?
It says 6:15. Shortly that. We can go ahead. Okay. All right, the first public hearing is a rezoning request, case ZM 24-005 for 705 Finch Road. Sherry.
Good evening.
Evening.
Touch anything up here. So I'm coming before you with two rezoning requests. The first one is off of Finch, 705 Finch Road, or the property of Finch Road. PIN number 0537011014. This is a case ZMA 24-005. In this case, the applicant owner Craig E. Faulkner and Lisa F. Royster, and representing them is Thomas H. Johnson, Jr., attorney from Williams Mullen. And this is for review and make a recommendation on an applicant initiated rezoning of 705 Finch Road from R30 to AR. And the size of the parcel is 44.05 plus or minus acres. The existing conditions as of now, the parcel is partially wooded with open farmland, a pond, and two existing single wide manufactured homes. And the future land use designation, as of now, the parcel is within a rural designated area of the county as designated on the adopted future land use map. And this property, so in the white area, it shows as not located within a designated transitional development or neighborhood area, or within a defined development community or an industrial and warehousing land use classification as defined in the adopted land use plan. So for the applicant is wishing to rezone the property to AR consistent with the adjacent property to the north. As part of this request, the applicant will be seeking to lease a portion of the property for a wireless communications tower, which is permitted within the AR general use zoning district, subject to the submittal of a special use permit, and that would be at another time. This is just for the rezoning. And at the June 20th planning board meeting, they completed its review and they recommend approval, finding that the amendment is consistent with the 1996 Vance County Comprehensive Plan and is reasonable and in the public interest. And for this meeting here, it was duly noted for its correct dates and all advertised of the legislative hearing. Notices went out to adjacent property owners, signs posted on the property. And so the recommendation was approved. And so in approving this, we ask that the commissioners, when they make their vote, they state that the proposed amendment is or is not consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, and whether or not it is or is not in the public interest or reasonable. If you have any questions, we do have the applicants.
All right, I'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Any of the commissioners?
I have a question. Did anyone contact you all that were in opposition to this rezoning?
None, I've received no calls in opposition.
Any other questions? Public hearing is now closed. What will be the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to approve the rezoning.
Okay. We have a second?
I second it.
Does that include the requested findings as well?
Any additional information that you requested?
Okay, so we got a recommendation for approval with the conditions of findings. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next public hearing.
Okay, the next public hearing is case ZMA 24-006. It's two parcels off Bullocksville Park Road, which is owned by SJ White Property Management LLC. And they, this is for a review and make a recommendation on the applicant initiated rezoning of parcels from R30 to AR. And so these, it was two tracks. The first track was 48.6 plus or minus acres, and the other track was 25.3 plus or minus acres, and they are continuous of each other. The existing conditions and features of the track: the parcel is undeveloped and heavily wooded with a water body, and is again, the access is off of Bullocksville Park Road. And so far as the future land use map is in a non-designated classification, where is in a non-transitional development area or neighborhood area. It's also not within a development community or an industrial and warehousing land use classification. And in the zoning, surrounding zoning is existing AR that's continuous adjacent to it and surrounding it. And the applicant wishes to rezone the property to AR, which is consistent with the adjacent property to the east and the south. And on June 20th, the planning board made its recommendation stating that the property was reasonable and in public interest, and it was also consistent, and is also consistent with the adopted 1996 Vance County Comprehensive Plan. And also, notices were sent out to the adjacent property owners, signs were posted on the property. And again, we asked for a recommendation for the commissioners to approve, stating whether or not the proposed map amendment is or is not consistent with the land use plan, and also whether it's reasonable and within the public interest. And the applicants are here as well.
Okay, I'll now open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? Any board members?
So I guess it's the same question that Commissioner Finch said, no one,
None.
okay, just want to make sure, reached out.
Okay,
I thought, did anybody out in the audience want to speak?
The other, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Anybody?
That's fine.
Good.
I didn't know if you wanted to speak or not.
I'm fine.
all right. No one else wants to speak. Public hearing is now closed. What would be the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Second,
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the findings.
With findings, amen.
And we have a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next we have reevaluation appeals. The first one, which is continued from our May 6th and June 3rd meetings, is Benjamin and Kay Hicks. Are they here?
Okay, Mr. Hicks is not here. They had wanted to apply for the circuit breaker, and when we looked and saw the amount that he would have to pay in taxes with the circuit breaker and without the circuit breaker, it wouldn't benefit him to do the circuit breaker. So he want to continue to see if he can find some more information, get some more information.
Okay, so this would be the third time he's been before us? Third, I believe.
The other, he had cancer treatment.
He's unable to attend tonight because of health issues? Okay, so I think that would, if it's okay with the board, we'll continue that one. All right, the next one, we have Angela Crudup Taylor.
I'm Leanne Daniel. I'm not an appraiser. I am a licensed North Carolina broker. Have been for 34 years. I'm here to assist Ms. Taylor. I know she said the last time she came, she brought information that I sent with her and
There.
told that.
You get them to use the mic. I can't, I'm on.
Oh, I can
I'm
talk
sorry.
louder, or I can talk in the mic. I'm sorry.
Great.
I'm a licensed broker in North Carolina. I have been for 34 years. I'm not an appraiser, but I am able to give a comparative market analysis. I'm here to help Miss Taylor. She lives at 1415 South Williams Street. Did I say that right? Okay, 1514. Excuse me. So anyway, she came here last month and I had given her information saying that the home was valued based on two comps from May 15th, that I thought her home was valued at 42,373. She was told, and I might have misunderstood a little bit, to go back 2 years. To go back to 2 years ago and see what the value was. I'm not sure if that's correct,
She
but
was
that,
told that she couldn't have a value that was newer than January 1st of 2024. That was in
Okay.
the comp period.
okay, well, I went back to 2 years ago, so we might have to postpone this again if necessary, but the value at that time is what you're looking at is the CMA, the first page. The second page was my email that she brought with her the last time. So as of 2 years ago, her home would have been valued at 62,710. That's based on another house that had a little bit more square footage. So I did the calculation and I came out to $49.77 per square foot. That sold on July 20th of 2022. Since that time, though, the market has decreased. Also because of the neighborhood where her home is, all the homes, there's 2 homes that are boarded up. So that devalues her property. And I also looked at the schedule of values for Vance County. And I guess the reason why I wasn't sure about going back before January 1st is because if she had hired an appraiser, an appraiser to come here, they would have only gone back about 6 months. Unless it was in a rural area, then sometimes they go back a year. I know that under the principle of change for the schedule of values, it says that the estimate of market value is valid only on the effective date for which it is made, which means it can change. It says the market value is present worth of all the anticipated future benefits to be derived from the property. Her house is very old. Now, if it was new construction, I would say it has increased in value in the last 2 years. But I don't see where any value can come in the home unless she put a lot of upgrades in it. And at this point, she doesn't. And most of these comps, that comp even did say, the one from 2 years ago said it did need TLC. So if anybody has any questions.
So you have one comparable? There were no other
Just
comp-
one comp, no, if you want more, I can get more and I can bring them next time. I misunderstood.
So you said it's value only at 42 now, according to your professional.
43, that was based on May 15th,
15.
about 43,000. Yes, ma'am. Because what happened, and I couldn't bring the CMA for that because the listing agent for that property listed 2 homes under 1402 South William Street. And together they sold for 78,000. I do have a copy of that. Hold that for a second. My hands are shaking. Let's see. The 78,000 came from 1402 South William Street that was valued at 43,000. There was one almost the equivalent set square footage. Hers is 1260. This one, 917 Southern Pine Street, was given a value of 35,000. On May 15th, that's when it closed.
Okay, so page 2 of your information reflects a sale that occurred on 5/15.
The ones on 515, yes, sir.
Which is not available for comparables.
Well, I can give you it combined with those 2 combined, and it says 78,000 for both of them.
It doesn't matter, the sale date is after January 1st.
Yes, sir.
So
it is.
it's not available.
So we can't,
You can't use that.
yeah, I can't use that, but I was just going, also looking at your schedule of values. I wasn't sure, it was 500 pages, so I didn't go through all of it.
Understand?
But I didn't, understand why you would go back that far, even before January 1st, why you couldn't take a recent comparable because it said it's only good for the date that it's made.
Right, and that's by state law. It's nothing that we do. It's the value as of January 1st of the year of the appraisal
Mhm.
is what we have to do by state law. So we don't have flexibility on that. And did you review the comparables that were provided by the tax department?
I was given, I just was given that today, this afternoon, as a matter of fact, before I came here. And it looked like there was about, if this is it. Are you the one that did it? Or somebody else? Okay. And this, is this what you're talking about? I'm not sure who.
I'm not sure what you're.
Okay. I'm sorry. Here's one for 503 Netherly Street. From 12/7/23, the sales price was 37,000.
They're not comparables.
Well, she's reading the front.
The front page, I see the second page too. No, I'm sorry about that.
That's the owners.
Okay,
Okay, so the other comps in here, the lowest is 25,000, the highest is 175,000. But like I said, these are totally, one of them looks like, two of them look like they might be brick houses. I know one of them is for 155. Hers is not a brick house. And these houses have probably been remodeled. If I went into the MLS and looked, then I could print out a sheet that would tell you what's been done to each one. But I would need more time to do that. And I don't know if you are willing to postpone it again. But there's no way her house is worth even 106,000 or 103,000 that you all
Okay.
have said.
all right. Brooks, would you like, do you have anything else to present?
It's just a really bad neighborhood. And unfortunately, everybody that was there when she moved there has moved on. And she's stuck it out because she can't really afford to buy another house. And,
Okay.
so
How many more
that's,
houses
that's,
on that? How many more houses on where you live that you have this occupant with people? Cause she said a lot of them have moved out. Are there still a lot?
They are boarded up.
there's
Mhm,
two of them that are boarded up.
The house next door to me is boarded up.
mhm.
And one time people homeless was staying in it. So then they boarded it up.
So how many residents is still in that location? Do you?
It looked like, I mean, to me, she might go tell you, I don't know if she can tell you exactly,
It might
but
be 10 people.
yeah,
But most
10
of
different
them,
houses.
10 houses?
yeah, but most of them is boarded up.
Mhm.
They look
But
like
you still
government
got-
homes to
on each
me.
side of you, they boarded up, right?
Yes.
But you
Across
still
the
got,
street from me
so-
and beside me.
so the other occupants, were they upset of when, according to, are all the houses in the same shape,
See, I'm buying my house.
Uh-huh.
My house is paid for,
Mhm.
but everybody else they are renting.
they rent, okay, now it's okay.
And they look like, they might be government housing at one time because they're all square. They look like there may be a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. They all look the same.
Okay, because I was curious, if
Yeah.
you got 10 more houses, seem like if their house was appraised as well, what their fight, I'm just, but you said they rent now, I understand.
Although
Okay.
every house on my block is renters,
But you're, okay,
but
okay.
my house.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have any other evidence to present?
No,
Not at this time.
Okay, what do you guys, would you like to speak?
he wants to speak, Leanne. Let's
Okay.
get out.
So we'd like to show some photos of the subject property, if that's all right with the board. So to introduce myself, my name is Ryan Vincent. We work with the county on the property tax reappraisal, myself and my team here. This is, I believe, the second or third time we've been up here for this particular case here. I'd like to walk the board through the comparable properties we have here. First one is at 508 Hickory Street. That is a quarter-mile away. That is a quarter-mile away. That one sold in September of 23 for 175,000 or no, this is your house. I'm walking through the comps right now. So this is the subject property. First comp was 508 Hickory Street. It's a quarter-mile away. sold September of 2023 for $175,000, and that's $155 a foot. Our subject property is currently valued at $82 a foot. Second comp is on Eastway Drive, about a half a mile away. That one sold December of 22 for $155,000 or $117 a foot. Comp number 3 is at 426 Mitchell Street. That one is also about a half a mile away. Sold January of 23 for $125,000 or $141 a foot. Comp number 4 is at 994 Maple Street. That one is about a quarter mile away. Sold in March of 22 for $100,000 or $111 a foot. And the last comp we have is just to show the other extreme. That one is about a half a mile away at 451 East Winder Street. That one sold for $25,000, but that one, I think the board's seen it before. That one sold completely gutted. It didn't have a floor structure within the house. And even that one sold for $41 a foot. So with that being said, we would ask the board uphold the current reduced value of $103,266.
So all those houses you just named was on a different street? Not on her street, on a different street?
But they're
Yes.
all within a half mile.
They're all within a half.
I was saying some houses on the street, you know, is like they're mostly condemned, then the next street was very livable and more accessible. So that's why I was asking that they could be more, you can go from one street to another and they in better condition. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, so we're bound by looking at comparables. And
Mhm.
these are the closest comparables we can find to the subject.
Is that her house right there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is her house.
Okay.
So we can, if you'd like, we can.
But
Paying
she's
for
saying
the-
her house is bordered, got houses that's bordered. I just want to understand what I'm asking. Her house might be, got houses that's bordered up on her street. The ninth street, next street may not have, a half a mile, may not have the same condition. So that's why I was asking.
We're,
Why I'm just asking.
we're bound by the boards of equalization review that are set up by the state. And so we need to follow those guidelines in order to find resolution to that. So
Coach, can I ask the question in terms of, based on the value of what she's saying now, what is her taxes going to be? What were they before and what are they now? What will they be now?
what's the city's rate?
Hmm?
What rate did the city adopt? 57? 65? So 65 and 71.
Say it again?
65 and 71.
She's in the city, you got the city tax, which was 70, what, 30?
136.
What, 65, then the county's gonna be 71.
Should be a little over $1,000.
She don't pay county though.
Yes, yeah, I do.
Oh,
City, you know,
and city.
Bay County and city, she pay
So
county and city.
what is she asking?
She wants to increase rate, but she don't pay her.
If that's the case, then we gotta reduce it for everybody.
I don't know. It doesn't, I mean, last year ours was 89. I don't know what the city's.
Oh,
was.
I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know what our taxes were last year.
I'm trying to think what she's gonna have to pay.
It doesn't matter. What is she doing? I don't know.
What's this house valued at?
Before?
Yeah.
I don't know.
About 36,000.
What was it? 36,000.
And what is it valued at now?
103,266.
What is she asking?
35,000. 42,000, excuse me.
42,000. What was the answer to Leo's question about the taxes?
I think
I couldn't,
I'm not sure I could.
$1,500.
what was it before and what is it now?
The previous value according to him was 36,000. The proposed value here is 103,000.
But I'm talking about the taxes. How
Amount.
much tax did they pay in the past and how much taxes they gotta pay on the new?
Given that our board and the city board decided to increase the taxes.
That's correct. I
So
wanna know, I wanna know what she had to pay in the past and what she has to pay in the future on the new appraisal.
That's why I
We know what the past
getting
one was.
from it.
Yeah, the new one is approximately 1,500 in taxes.
What was the old one?
We're trying to figure that out. right
Figuring it up
So
for you
that's for
now.
county and city, right?
Correct.
18 and solid waste.
Ma'am,
And solid.
Waste fee, city, county, and solid waste fee.
Mhm.
City, county, and solid waste fee.
solid waste in the county.
City, county, and
Yeah.
waste, county waste is $1,500. They ain't told us yet.
What is the appraisal of all
yeah,
this boarded up?
he here.
Oh, well.
The appraisal of the boarded up houses would be substantial.
Appraisal for those boarded up.
If the houses were boarded up and uninhabitable, it would be substantially less. What we're tasked with is we're tasked with looking at market value. What would a willing buyer and willing seller pay for?
She says most of the houses in her neighborhood are rental.
Or what?
Are rental.
Okay.
They were not owned by anyone. They were rentals. Which means that the owner of all those houses that are boarded up, their appraisals had to go up too, or should have gone up since they're in the same neighborhood.
Yes, sir. That's,
Okay,
that's,
it's not a half a mile away. You keep telling me the appraisals that you looked at were a half a mile away.
well, we're,
Necessarily consider a half a mile away, the same neighborhood,
That's what I said.
okay? And so the question I have is these owners who have rented up rental property in her neighborhood that are all boarded up, what did their values go up? Because their tax values will go up. So what did you appraise them at?
well, I'm not prepared to speak on that. We're prepared to speak on the subject property and the comparables for this particular subject property. If you'd like, we can go back and get appraisals for the rest of the properties on the street. But again, we are tasked to look at market value and we are tasked to analyze the evidence that's presented before us. And to date, there's been
I
no
think to be fair
solid.
to her, you look at the market value of those houses within the block of her, within walking distance of her, within walking distance of where she lives. If you do 2 blocks one way, 2 blocks the other way, what would be the tax value of those houses? Because based on what I understand about taxes, the fact that if those houses were to sell, then that would affect the value of her house. And so I'm sure those boarded up houses will sell for very low. So therefore, if they sell, that affects the value of her house, right?
Well, a boarded up house is a different market and a different buyer than a habitable house. And again, we're looking at sale prices. We're not looking at tax value of properties next door. We're looking at what did similar houses sell for. And these are the closest houses that we could find that are similar to the subject property. So we're looking at it the same way here that we would if we went to the State Tax Commission in Raleigh. We're looking at it the same way.
Okay, what about the houses that, even though they're rental, you didn't compare those, they was not one of those that were listed on that, because you had a list of houses when we first got her.
Those properties did not sell within the.
They did not sell and therefore,
But then what about the
All you
appraiser? I'm
doing-
talking about the appraiser. What did they appraise for? Were they the rentals?
well, again, we're tasked with looking at what did properties sell for and valuing based on sales. We're not looking at tax value, house by house, street by street. We're looking at what did the property sell for? And those sales are comparable to the subject property that we have here before us this evening.
Mhm.
It's abandoned.
That's the house is boarded up.
Boarded up.
That's not the same as a comp.
And-
That's not the
So let me
same.
ask-
That's not the same. It's like you didn't buy a car,
Yeah.
motor, and then you
Let
didn't buy a
let
car
me
with
ask
no
you a
motor.
question. I need a legal answer here from our council. Our chair keeps bringing up what the law says. We are a board to look at this and evaluate. Are our hands tied by the board? I mean, by the law, we can't make a decision that's independent of whatever the law is saying. We need to make a decision. Purpose. We need- Follow what he keeps. We need to make the decision that is
based upon evidence and the facts so that it fits within what your schedule of values and the process states. You need a basis for the decision that you made, and it needs to be, I would recommend, based upon the advisement of our professionals who are here before us this evening, giving us the information that's relevant to how the values are determined.
I have a question. Excuse me. Of the houses that's located on that street, has any of them been rehabbed? Is your house, it looks nice?
The thing is, if I rent CNA, some of those houses might have been sold off market. So I would not have access like the one that she's talking about. I don't have to move for minimum MLS because, which is what I've been asking. You know, I could look at each tax record and see, you know, when it sold the last time.
Just for your information, Ms. Daniel, that's the source that our people use because they do not have access to the MLS. And so they've used tax values based on sales that were recorded at the courthouse.
Also, did you ever get, when would did you ever get the two figures I was asking for?
Yes. So her last year taxes was $710.66.
That's city, county
Mm-hmm.
and all, and the new,
It's 1,500.
ma'am,
1,500.
so her taxes
Double.
will double, is that what you're saying?
Ms. Taylor, tell me, your house, what is it? 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, what? 3 bedrooms, a bath and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else to present? Do we have anything?
I'd like to one more thing, the rentals in the area do normally decrease the value of a home too. Other homes are rented instead of them.
Okay.
Okay,
I'd, if I could, I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
If I could make a point to that, we can't look at, whether a property is owner occupied or tenant occupied as part of our appraisal. We simply have to look at what buyers and sellers are paying, whether they're buying it and renting it out long-term or renting it out short-term on Airbnb or owner occupying the house. We can't consider the occupant or the occupancy type of that particular single-family residence. If it's a single-family residence, we appraise it as a single-family residence based on condition, age, location, all those factors that we consider.
Okay, this is to the realtor. You stated that you misunderstood what was needed.
I didn't get all the notes in the past 2 years or after before January 1st.
Okay,
I just got the one from 2 years ago and that one, was July 20th. I had a picture of it, it over 65,000 then.
Could you come forward if you're going to speak so that people in everyone can hear?
The, I just looked at 2 years ago and there was a home that sold for 65,000, North Shank Street.
okay, so I guess my question.
And that one's 1306, so that's a little bit bigger. So that's why I came up with my calculation.
So my question to you is, based on what you know now, you know, what you found out today, do you think that if you were to get additional information, that would change your assessment?
I think it could, but maybe not if I have to look at only before January 1st, but like your, what is it, schedule of values or the values that he's saying that you need to go by is what I was talking about. Does it say in there it has to be before January 1st or it does? Okay. Does it say how far back to go?
I think we used a 2-year review period.
Go back.
Because normally an
Usually
appraisal would be
2 years.
6 months.
Yeah.
Okay,
The more.
I didn't
closer
read the
the
whole
bigger.
file.
Yeah, this is a different appraisal process than what you get in a typical real estate transaction. It's, and that's why you've got the schedule of values. The appraisals are based on the schedule of values and formulas they develop from that. Yes, we do make mistakes on some of them, but, that's why we're here.
And I still think that maybe he can't, based on his rules or that he goes by, go by the houses around it, but that should
Yeah.
also help give justification to the price that I came up with too. There's no way her house went up in value in the past 2 years.
It's
And
actually
especially-
8 years.
Well, I mean, 8 years, I'm saying, but you went back 2 years is what I was saying. I know that it's valued every 8 years, just like I live. in Bramble.
It's an 8-year, yeah.
So-
8-year valuation.
So realistically, as a realtor who has evaluated the home, you honestly stand there and say, if you listed her house, that you would list it at $35,000?
I said
For sale.
43, about 43,000.
That is what you would list it for, if you had to put it on the,
If she could have the money to put in it to do some other, interior features to it, but when you drive down that street and you see everything that's around it, that right there is a turnoff to most people. Some people won't even look at it. I've been with buyers before that won't even go into a home once they see the neighbors.
well, see, I'm not asking in terms of comparison.
That's what I would list it for, is 43,000.
Right now, if you had to list it on the market.
Yes,
your
ma'am.
Valuation would be 43, and is that based on inside and out? Have you seen the inside, or you just looking at the outside?
I've seen a part of the inside and it needs to be updated.
Okay, and to Portia and your team, were you all invited when she filed her appeal to come back and look inside? Because I know one of the things you all did say earlier, that if someone wants you to come back, that you can evaluate not only the outside, but the interior too, to see whether or not there was any kind of structural, the way the house was structured inside that may affect the value. So were you all asked to come in and actually look inside to see whether or not there was something that was contained within that may affect what value that you all have placed on there?
Normally, if there's interior issues on properties like this, it's brought to us through the appeal period. Especially in this case, since we've gone back now 3 times to this, interior issues would have been brought forth with us. Anything like leaky roofs or foundation problems, those are usually brought forth fairly quickly throughout this process.
But will it change the outcome if you went in to look at it? Would it change the value if you went in?
Depending on what the inside looked like, it may.
It might.
Have you gone back and looked at this properties again, or how many times have you looked at it?
You mean physically on the
I wanna
ground?
know how many times you've gone by the property and looked at it and appraised it?
You mean physically walked around the property, driven?
Basically
by the
gone
property?
back and looked at it, you appraised it to start with
Mhm.
by going over and evaluating it. Since this whole process has started, has anybody gone back over and looked at it?
Yeah, we have not been requested to go back at all.
So.
And they
so
wouldn't,
obviously-
they wouldn't go back and evaluate because she had to bring in what she said, why it's worth what it's worth. And she didn't say it was anything on the inside. She was just saying the boarded up houses all along the street. She didn't say anything was wrong inside. So when they went out, only thing they did was measure whatever she had on, if it's the house, it's a carport, whatever, they measured that. But they don't do evaluation like a regular fee appraiser would.
But if you are collecting taxes, as far as that's concerned, if you have a problem with it, so you're telling me that you only go one time and look no matter when?
Basically, yes, because it was,
I mean,
that's what I was saying.
I mean, I would think that if you had somebody that you continually having a situation with, that you go back and reevaluate it.
Well, it's up to them. We have presented what we say is worth. Now it's up to
All I'm
them.
saying is, I don't care how I make mistakes,
Correct.
a ton. So I'm just saying, looks like to me, if people would go back and reevaluate, maybe sometimes they make a mistake.
Well, we did go back and look at,
He said
Right.
you didn't.
I'm talking about not the property, but we went back and looked at the property card, make sure everything was correct.
Yeah, we've
Well, I'm
reviewed.
not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just saying this. You have not gone back and looked at this property.
What is gonna
Yeah,
change?
so part of
Would it-
this, part of this.
Sir,
I was gonna say, you're in the you're in the construction business. I'm looking at this house on the screen here. I don't think you could build that house for $43,000 today.
no, you can't.
No, you can't.
I mean.
You can't.
You couldn't build that house I'm looking at, hip roof and all of that for $43,000.
No, you
That's
can't.
what she's asking.
Well, and part of this.
Can I inject,
More than-
can I inject one thing? Let me inject one thing. Ms. Taylor, unfortunately, I'm reluctant to tell you this, to say this. I have a house on Clark Street that falls in the same category. It was valued $42,000. In the last evaluation. I just had it appraised this week. If tax value came the same as hers, 103. Had it appraised based on Clark Street and what's taking place on Clark Street. I got the appraisal this morning, 125,000. I don't like the extra taxes, but that's.
Doesn't mean somebody would pay you that much for it.
No, you're not anybody paying until you get it, it don't mean nobody's gonna pay you for it, that's right. But I'm
Was
gonna
that a certified appraisal?
certified appraisal,
That's all in other words,
certified
you had,
appraisal,
you had to get that in case you wanted to go get any money for it. Is that correct?
that's what
So you have to get a certified
got a
appraisal.
certified appraisal, same piece of property, just like hers, came in tax value 103. Previously it was 38, same as hers. The guy that did it and everything's a guy, his name is Greg something, they work with Opie Frazier.
He's out of, yeah, I
Out
go
of
there.
Warden. Came in,
What you
came
went,
in the day, they called and told me the day that it came at 125,000.
I have another question.
We are. Too much
I
time.
know this process of the revals have been going on at least 2 years.
Nothing's gonna change.
In what stage did you evaluate her property? Was it earlier on or was it some point recently?
Well, so there's different stages of the reappraisal. So there's the initial stage where we go out and visit the property. Then within a year prior to the reappraisal date, we go through and review them and look at sales. And then we value them. And then we go through prior to the notices being mailed and we do another final review to make sure that the values are all in line with what the comps are selling for.
So this property has been evaluated at least 3 times during this.
Oh, yeah,
process?
we've looked through this plenty of times and to the point of going through it multiple times. Part of what we do is in the interest of time to try to move through these appeals and save the county money. We don't.
Okay, all right.
An appraisals aren't cheap,
I understand, yeah.
and she's retired. She
Uh,
is on a fixed income. So I realized you.
well, let me say this
Okay.
to help with the situation. I think I can tell you that the appraisal for that property, if you went and got a certified appraisal, would be around $550. If I sit here and added up what I just talked about, then obviously she wants property where she's paying taxes of $700. And now,
That must include the other fees that, yeah. So that,
and she pays 1,500. It looks like to me that if you were wanting to do something now, you may end up going the wrong direction, but if you want to do something, you could get it done in one year.
if she could afford it, I think she would have already done that. I did talk to he's telling you what I did talk to an appraiser. I didn't say the value because then I didn't ask her to value it because she would have had to, I would have had to pay her. But she did tell me that the homes, when they're boarded up like that and rental properties around it does decrease the value. They do have to take that into consideration.
Okay.
And I'm assuming there's boarded up homes around your home.
All right, I think at this point, we're repeating things that have already been said.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Does the board care to take action at this time?
No.
Does she want to get her appraisal and come back or what?
She go get an appraisal, she gonna pay the same that she be paying extra taxes. Don't do it, doesn't do any good to get an appraisal.
Then if the appraisal come back and it's the same, then
Appraisal's gonna cost you, it'll cost you $550
It ain't
to
gonna come back at no
$751. That's what it's gonna cost you.
$35,000.
That's the extra
But
taxes.
she would only pay that one time.
Huh?
She would only be paying that appraisal one time, but if it go up, then she's gonna be paying that extra
It's gonna be
$500
the same
every
situation.
year.
I'm gonna have to pay the additional, I'm going to pay the additional $750. So it's gonna cost me $1,500.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that's gonna be a recurring $500 difference,
Yeah.
$700 difference. Cause so sometimes you gotta look at, is it beneficial to pay this $500 this one time rather than risk for the next 8 years or whatever, paying that additional double, which she would avoid if she can get the appraisal and it comes out in her favor.
If she get an appraisal done, it's not gonna come back at 35,000.
Right.
I mean,
Okay,
that's the
so-
reality of it.
So
So
the recommendation from our tax assessor is that the property value stand as is at 103,266. We need to take action on that, either for or against.
I'll make the motion for it, 103.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed? Okay, let's get roll call.
I made the motion, I'm for it.
No.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes, it's 4-3. Okay, so the value would go relative to the assessor's recommendation, 103,266.
And the next one we have is Brenda Watkins. I don't think Ms. Watkins here. We did try to call her from the last meeting and she didn't return our call. So we recommend that it stands at 107,861.
Okay, and
Did you send her mail her a notice
We mailed her the notice to appear the last time.
since the last meeting?
No, not since last meeting.
Okay,
We
if
called.
if we didn't mail it, then I would recommend we continue it, mail a notice and provide her with a date of when it's continued to, and then go forward from there.
And just for information, if someone chooses to contest the value again next year, they have that option again
Yes,
to contest that value. This doesn't mean that that value is going to stay in place for 8 years.
right,
They have the option to come back with additional evidence.
correct.
It is based on the same, it is based on
The same comp period, same date, January 1st,
Mhm,
2024.
mhm.
Okay, but just so everybody understands that, if you don't get what you need to go back and try again, you can come back again next year.
Well, on that same note, Commissioner, I would like them to try to have a certified appraisal.
Okay.
That would eliminate a lot of just misunderstandings and, ups and downs. Because that certified appraisal is gonna answer every question that we've been trying to answer for the last
Well,
90 days.
That's an expense that some people can't afford, and I think they've indicated that having sales data is not one comp. You need multiple comps. And they provided multiple comps in my thoughts. And there was only one comp here that was provided, and it was quite a distance from this property relative to the other comps that were provided to us. So, okay. So we're gonna continue Ms. Watkins' case and get her notice.
Mhm.
And if she chooses to come back, she can. Next on the agenda, we have new appeals.
Yes,
The first one is Teresa Choplin.
yes.
Choplin's, are you here?
Continue, Brenda.
Hmm?
We continue the last one.
Yeah, continue because I did several notes.
Yes, my name is Brian Choplin. I'm with my mother, Teresa Choplin. About 547 Sagefield Drive.
Okay.
Y'all gave her a notice of $176,815. And we're here today because she disagrees. We believe it's probably about half that, the value of her house. $100,000 on a good day. Same thing, she can't afford to have an appraisal done. Uh, she's retired, she's widowed, she's on a fixed income, and doubling her taxes is just unfair. And her house is outdated. If we were to get, she has no intentions of moving anytime soon, selling the house. If we were to be able to get $176,000 for this house, you'd probably have to put 50,000, 70,000 in renovations. And the roof, I know for a fact, is over 20 years old. It's a single window unit, cools the house. Baseboard heat. Most people ain't moving into a house without central AC, but she's been living in it for over 40 years like this, the house I grew up in. It's got cracks in the bricks. The neighborhood she's in has, when used to be a good neighborhood, same thing, people, once the people are gone, rental companies are buying the houses. So you got you got junk cars sitting in people's yards. I mean, it's going downhill fast. She don't care to relocate. She's been there over 40 some years. But it ain't fair to double her taxes when we know for a fact this house ain't gonna value at that. So that's,
When you contacted the tax office and I guess you had an appeal time, you sat down with them? Or have you met with them?
this is the last notice we got. She's been replying back by mailing it in. They give her a notice saying, do you agree? And then that's when we got the notice to be here today.
Okay,
Because
so
it
you
says
haven't-
if you do not agree,
So you have not had the opportunity to talk with them about any structural deficiencies, roof deficiencies, inferior heat and air, any of those things?
we haven't set. This is the first time we're
Ms.
confronting it.
Brooks?
I would say,
This-
we asked for that when they signed up with the appeal, to send in the pictures, anything that they might have to prove.
We
Because
have-
they didn't give us what they thought the opinion of the value was.
Yep. See, the letter we have here says, be here today to state your case, and that's
Right.
why we're here. But we have a few pictures. It asked
We
for
hadn't
7,
seen those.
so we have 7 pictures, of just showing how outdated things are, if y'all wanna look at them, but.
As you discuss Satesville, what are you saying? What are you saying the value should be?
Me personally, I think it's around 100,000 would be fair. And if you were to put that house on the market, look, I got friends that sell houses, and if you were to put this house, you can't put it on the market the way it is. You're gonna put a new roof on it, that's $20,000. And most people, if you got a window unit cooling the whole house, most people ain't gonna be okay with that. Heat, another thing, it's old, the insulation needs new insulation. We got pictures of your electric bill.
I hear you. I hate to use me as an example again. Sagefield is very similar to Patton Circle. I have property on Patton Circle. I pulled the things the other day. I pulled comps the other day, looking at a piece of property, Porsche. And what I found comps and everything in terms of what they're selling for is like 155.
That's
Well-
that's what we have. We have one, I mean, not even 0.04 miles from hers that sold for 150.
Okay, that's 150 and this is 176. I know for a fact there's houses over there with pools.
Well,
And-
Sagefield and Patton
Well-
Circle are very similar. So based on what she said, they're like 150.
Well, we look at things on a price per foot basis. So we have, the subject property at 1,600 square feet. This comp that sold for 150,000, literally right around the corner, is only 1,200 square feet. So the subject is currently valued at $108 a foot. The comp sold for $117.
What's the square footage? What's the square?
About 1,600.
And so,
Well, yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and so what I'm telling you is the houses that sold have probably been updated. And
Yes.
this house is not, it's carpet, it's not been updated.
Okay,
It needs a lot of work for it to be worth anywhere near this.
okay, if the board's okay with it, they've just presented this information about material deficiencies in the house. If they can review that, if we can have our assessors review that and come back to us if there's any changes.
The
It's just
inside of the house
baseball.
don't have nothing to do with
You know,
the
it's-
value.
It does. They say they've got cracked foundations, the roof is deficient, those kind of things. And so if those things are validated,
So we have 5 comps here, and the very first comp right around the corner is original. I just put pictures up on Zillow. It has the original kitchen, the original bathroom. It has the same cracks, and it sold for about $10 a foot more than our subject is valued at.
Okay.
And so
Well,
if
if we approve one, we need to approve all. Cause there's no way that we can sit up here and go against what the state got going on for one. So if we gonna approve one, we gonna approve all of them.
Well,
Cause
I can only speak for the people that's up here. I mean, you getting over on a lot of people. And you
we,
got people
first
here
of all,
that,
it ain't us.
well,
it's
y'all the
not-
ones we talking to.
We
And
sit
cause my
here-
mama taxes is double, and that's why we're here. So y'all the ones that I gotta sit here and talk to. So y'all the ones that's gonna hear
Let
my
me say this.
concerns.
Let me say this. A couple $100 to me.
It's nothing.
Let me finish, sir. Let me finish. A couple $100 to get a certified appraisal can answer all your questions. Because let's say she did get that appraisal and it came back more than what they appraised it. What are you gonna do then?
Are you willing to pay for the appraisal? Is that what?
I got my own rental house. I got my own house.
What? She's not.
And I
willing
pay the
to-
same taxes. And guess what? All mine's
All right.
done.
All right, well,
I'm just
hey,
hypothetical.
let's say you have a $500,000 house. Is it right for you to pay $1 million taxes on it? I know that's outrageous,
Yeah, it is outrageous.
but it's double, right? Same thing.
Right.
This is outrageous.
all right, so these presentations need to be based on facts, okay?
It's
Right now, you haven't presented anything to indicate the value of your house other than it being some problems with the house.
Yep.
So as far as at a value, the values they've actually gone and they have values that are relative to market. They did not go in these houses and they haven't been in your house. So that would be the only, from what you're presenting right now, the only factor that would be of consideration. So unless you want to come find some comparables, which you're not gonna find any.
Well, y'all hadn't shown me enough proof either, because I can't go off of what somebody else's house is that sold. And you just said it sold for 150 and this is 170. Why is it 176?
it's 500
Hey.
square feet less than yours.
Can mama afford an appraisal?
Sir,
Can your mama afford an appraisal?
my mama can't afford it. That's why we're here.
Based on what you're saying, it would, based on what I've just experienced the last week. If you can get an appraisal based on the conditions and everything, it may work in your favor. I hate to say that to you and everything in terms of the value, because based on what you're faced with, if you can get a certified appraisal, then you've got legal grounds to deal with us, deal with the state, not necessarily, what's also said, not necessarily us, but what we're faced with. And
All right.
I didn't want to pay the appraisal I had to pay, but I needed to do it. So
So, and what we've told people throughout this process is to bring comparable sales. We told them they did not need a full appraisal. And so for us to change course this time is probably not appropriate.
And sir, in all due respect, you keep referring to your rental properties. The higher it appraises is the better for you, because that's more you can get for them. In our situation, the higher you can say it's worth this all day long, but it's not. And it's,
But he just said get comparable, what's come, they're giving you comparable, things in terms of price and everything. I didn't realize in the house in Sagesville was 1,600 square feet. That's a lot of square footage, because most of what like Patton Circle, what a 1,200 square feet. So that is probably, I just wasn't familiar with, because my uncle used to own in Sagesville and everything, but wasn't about 1,300 square feet.
I don't know the.
Okay,
Correct.
is there any other evidence to be presented at this time?
Suggestion, because the house was built in 1972, you may have some structural issues, as you stated. With the cracking, sometimes the foundation does create more of a hazard or condition than you may realize, or somebody looking to buy, and they see that crack, if they have evaluated, it could have a different result than you even know. Cracks can cause mold. I mean, so if a appraiser came out, look at the electrical, they're gonna look at the plumbing, they're gonna look at that crack and what kind of condition it has caused inside the house, because the house sinking can cause cracks in the walls inside. So some of the things that could occur, an appraiser will assess those things better than someone who just came out and looked at the outside of your house. So then you got a way to it's a balancing act. Do you have an accurate appraisal? Somebody can come out and actually assess all aspects of this house and tell the truth, what's the true value, versus somebody who came out and just looked at the outside of the house and made a determination based on the fair market. So if you want accuracy, then I would suggest maybe it would be beneficial to maybe invest, do a payment plan for the appraisal or whatever, rather than going with the speculation of somebody who looked at the fair market value on the outside. So just basically looking on the, looking at the Zillow has estimated your house much more than what we have put on this tax value. So, when we are looking at it, we gotta look at all of that information as well, the information that our appraisers came up with, what the Z estimate is and all that, which is higher than what we even assessed it. So you need to evaluate, and I would suggest you continue this, go home and think about, how you want to basically handle it. Because if you do have the appraisal, it could come back much less than this amount. But if it does not come back, then we got to use what we have.
Yep.
Well, that's what the law requires we do. We're not trying to deviate from the law. We are sympathetic to everybody in a situation where they feel like they can't afford an increase, but the situation that we're looking at is not whether or not a person can afford the increase in the taxes, what the house is worth. So what the person can afford aside, what is this house worth? That's what we're trying to ascertain.
Yep.
We're trying to get to that point. So if we have reliable information that gets us to that point, what is the house worth? Not what the owner can afford, but what is this house worth? That's what we have to by law work with.
I understand it.
Ms. Brooks, could your staff go out and look at the house for functional obsolescence? Okay, and then if we can continue it, then we would be able to resolve this in our next meeting. Is that okay with the board?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, so we'll continue this one.
All right.
And you'll get in contact with them. They'll come out and they'll actually look at the house and see what adjustments would need to be made. And then we can come back on our future date.
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have Ruth Kearney, 104 Carolyn Court.
I don't know if Miss Kearney here, but her original value was 231,552. And we had an informal hearing with her and we brought it down to 211,069. She still did not agree with that value. But based on what she presented to us, we recommend that it stands at 211,69.
Okay, it says in here that she provided a Redfin estimate of a property at 202,365. Do you have that?
Mm-hmm.
The house value of 200.
202,365.
She's got a red pen under it. So-
Without her being here, I would want us to at least continue to notify.
I would say that if we've got a red pen, that's not, with that amount, we go with.
Okay, yeah, okay. What do you think?
That's what she wanted to too.
Let's watch.
We can do that.
We've got, as long as we've got evidence to support.
Okay.
You have that
Yeah, I have to, you're talking about the
red
redefine.
fin estimate.
Mm-hmm. The 202, 365.
That red fin estimate is 202, 365.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any reason that that wouldn't be valid?
I don't know when this
Yeah,
picture was.
we have no idea how Redfin or Zillow or any of those algorithms work. We've never in the past, in all my years doing this, have I ever seen a board consider a Redfin or a Zillow estimate as evidence for a hearing in a situation like this, nor have I ever seen the commission consider a Redfin or a Zillow estimate as evidence. Again, because we don't know where they get that number from. There's no documentation, no evidence as to how that number comes about.
But I think we've suggested to people in past meetings that they use some of those sources. Is that correct?
They can use those sources to find sales, but not to use that algorithm to value their property.
Was Miss Kearney mailed a notice of tonight's date?
Yes.
Okay. Board like to take action?
So in essence, what happened is they've redone it, and I just want to get a summation, redone it and brought it down to 211,
Mm-hmm.
and you were given Ms. Kearney was given a notice to be here,
Yes.
and if she had any complaints about that reevaluation, and she's not here. Is that correct?
Correct.
I make a motion, we approve it redone at 211.
Okay, 211-069 is the recommendation of the assessor's office. Do we have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. That one is complete. Next, we have Harold and Betty Tucker, 941 Buckhorn Street.
And the Tuckers, sent in their letter that they agree now, so they withdrew their appeal.
Okay, the assessor's recommendation is that the value is 113,762. What's the pleasure of the board?
Do we have to make a motion on this?
We do.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That one is complete. The next one we have is Wayne and Monica Reed Ayers, 120 Norwood Street.
And they called today and said they agree now and they withdrew the appeal.
Okay, the tax assessor recommends that the property value stand as is at 63,999 appraised value. Taxable value with exemption is 31,999.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
None.
Okay, all right, and just so for
Mr.
your
Chair,
information,
before we move on, can you take a look at that one? I'm not sure why Wayne Ayers is listed on there. The deed was just to Monica Reed when it was vested. I did not find a deed ever into Wayne Reed, and so I believe that should be
Okay.
corrected.
Okay.
just for your information, there were several cases that were adjudicated by just meeting with the tax office, and all of those are in your consent agenda. So just for your information, it's there. Okay. All right, next we have our appointment is for untimely exemptions.
And we'll get a motion on the consent agenda for those that went to the consent agenda.
We'll do that when we do the consent
Okay,
agenda.
okay.
Yeah, that'll all be in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Now, I understand from this that the Hicks maybe have withdrawn their request for this circuit breaker exemption?
Right.
Okay, so-
It wouldn't benefit them.
So do we need to act on that and deny it, or does that just go away because they withdrawn?
They withdrew that, but they haven't withdrawn their appeal. They still want to see if they can find.
Untimely exemption now. Do we need to take action on that? Okay, so that one's withdrawn.
Let me ask you, what's discussion about a circuit breaker? What's going on?
Well, the circuit breaker, it would have been more, they would have paid more in taxes than they would if they didn't use the circuit breaker. And then that's a deferment program. It's not like the elderly exemption where you get this 50% off. It's a deferment where once you come out of the program, somebody have to pay that back.
Okay. All right, so if you can go through quickly, the ones we have left.
Okay, I have the Morris Holy Temple of Science of the World, 912 East Andrews Avenue. They're applying for the religious exemption. They applied on May 8th, but it was due January 31st of 2024. And if they would have turned the application in, then they would have met the qualification, and we would have approved it.
Okay, next we have,
Next, we have Kevin Askew, and that's 2130 Warrenton Road. And they're applying a untimely present use agricultural application. And the deadline on this was January 31st. They was not aware that there was a deadline. And so they turned it in April 3rd. And if they would have turned it in by January 31st, it would have met the qualification and have been approved.
okay. So that's, so there are two
Yep,
timely exemptions that we have tonight, correct?
correct.
What would be the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve both untimely.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Jeffrey Brooks with the NC Department of Information Technology for a broadband update. Where would you find it? Next county. PDF, not a PDF. Oh. All right, that sounds good.
Well, good evening. Is everybody? Thank you for having me. I don't see Renee. There you are. I'm sorry. So my name is Jeff Brooks. I'm with the North Carolina Broadband Infrastructure Office. I'm here to chat with you a little bit about broadband. I've got some,
Mic closer to you.
pardon me.
Pull the mic closer to you, okay?
God, it makes me so loud.
We can't hear,
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. I've been known to fill a room with voice, so I'm just not used to the microphone and all that. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. I've been with DIT for about 2 years. Before that, I was worked for a small consulting firm for about 6 years, working on broadband projects up and down the East Coast. I've presented to more than 200 county boards before I came to the state. This is my 44th board presentation since I've been with DIT. I've gone to 87 county seats. I've got 13 more to go, got a lot of miles on the car. And the reason why is because broadband is very, very local. Doesn't happen in Raleigh, doesn't happen in Washington, it happens right here. So my job is to bring what we do at the broadband office to you into each county, because that's my goal, that's my responsibility. I got a few slides, but I'm aware of the fact that time is tight. I hate it when people read slides to me. I don't read slides. I'm happy to take questions. I do have handouts for fun. So the first one, if I can start with you guys. So this is a map that shows Vance County today, and I put it together by doing some cuts and pastes out of some of our maps so that you can see the state of broadband in Vance County. We're going to talk a little bit about Brightspeed tonight because Renee asked me to talk about the current status of your great grant awardee. So I've got 2 more things. I need these back. They're pseudo confidential. So the one looks kind of boring, but it's a copy of their progress reports for the past year and a half in terms of the build out. And the other just gives some background on how Brightspeed processes their requests for reimbursement for the work that they do. So I hit that button. Did that do anything? Yes. Okay. So I'm sure. There we go. Yep. So fundamentally, I'm just here to help you and answer any questions you have about our broadband programs. So the slides I have here are sort of combination of slides where I've presented to other boards, to different councils of government and other meetings, oftentimes citizens forums, where people just say, tell me about broadband. As you can see, when you look at this slide, there's a little organizational structure up there. My team is over in the broadband infrastructure office. The other key thing you see up here is Odell, the Office of Digital Equity and Literacy. I got 2 words up there. The infrastructure office has to do with availability. That's the stuff. That's cable or fiber or conduit or fixed wireless services. Adoption talks about whether people can afford broadband service, whether they know how to use it, whether they can use it safely and efficiently to benefit their lives. This is kind of an overview, and Renee, I'll send you a copy of this so you have it. I think you saved it, but I'll make sure you guys have a copy of it. This is my team and what we do. Fundamentally, I was brought on to develop 3 programs. The Completing Access to Broadband program, which is funded with $400 million. The Stopgap program, which is funded with $90 million. The Broadband Pole Replacement program, which is funded with $100 million. It's a lot of money, boatload of money. Part of my job is to figure out how to get this money out of the trunk of my car, where it didn't do anybody any good. You've heard me say that, and into Vance County, where it can help the citizens of this county. And my job is to be agnostic. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it like this, but I don't know any other way to say it. So I don't care if the citizens in your county are black, white, red, green, pink, blue. I don't care if they're rich or poor. I don't care if they're male or female. It doesn't matter to me. It's my job to serve them. Serving them, it's my job to help you and Renee any way that I can. Now, Vance County couldn't take advantage of the CAB program this past time because the investment that was required through legislation was awfully high, just as it was for 61 counties in this state. And I've got a little chart about that later on. But just because you couldn't participate in the first round of CAB doesn't mean we don't have more programs on the way that can help this county, the residents in your county. And I'll talk about those very quickly. The other thing, and this last one, I'll point out on the, I'm looking at on the left-hand side, says citizen response. We get about 60 to 70 inquiries from citizens across the state each month. We respond to those within 24 hours of receiving them. What happens is citizen will get in touch with the governor's office, the legislature. They may call you, may call Renee. We ask that you bring those requests to us. We call them. They're shocked when the government calls them back. We call them back. Mr. Ms. Doe, how are you? This is Jeff Brooks. I'm the director for yada yada. And I see that you emailed or called us. How can I help you? Generally, it's one of two things. I can't afford my broadband and I need it. We have a whole group in the Office of Digital Equity and Literacy that can help figure out how to help pay for it. Or my neighbor has it and I don't have it. Why don't I have it? This gives us an opportunity to do two things. First of all, to really understand what the issue is, to investigate and determine, is there a way we may be able to talk to one of these providers? Because I have $590 million in the trunk of my car. They take my call. They won't when I don't have any more money there, but they'll talk to me today and say, hey, I've got somebody at this address. Could you add them into a current project? Could you add them into your network at a small incremental cost? I mean, I can't fund it like that, but sometimes 1 out of 4 times we can get them added in. If we can't get them added in, then what we want to do is make sure we're aware of that when the next round of grants or procurements come into play. I always respond back with an email, and you get a copy of that email, as you know, and I'll say, dear Mr. Miss So-and-so, you'll notice I'm copying Jim Corin on my team, but you'll also know I've copied Renee Perry, who's your county manager. I want you to know that your county manager and your elected leadership are actively involved with our office and working on issues resolving broadband access in Vance County because it is local. I come back to, it's not Raleigh, it's not Washington. Somewhere in here, I'm going to talk about this completing access to broadband program. That's part of the rationale for driving to all these county board meetings and meeting with county managers. When I show up, it seems like a lot of people show up to want to talk about broadband. When we did the CAB program, we had 35 counties we've just wrapped up. We have, I think, put out about $175 million in funds for projects. The difference between this and the Great Grant program is that in Great Grant, an application went up, people responded, the legislature set the criteria for the responses and decisions were made. With CAB, we came to your county manager and we said, we'd like for you to be on an evaluation committee, plus one other member of your senior staff. And when we put proposals out and they come back in, we want to share with you everything that we have so that you can help us evaluate what's the best project for your county. Huge difference between what it is. And I'm not faulting the Great Grant. It is what it is. We put a lot of money into Great Grant, but CAB gave us the opportunity to really involve people at the county level in making these decisions. This is talking about a bunch of money. I'll talk about that in a second. Mapping is a big thing. You'll see all the little dots here. We're going to get a lot of money coming into North Carolina, although we have a lot right now, the beginning of 2025. We're getting $500 million more than we originally were going to get because our mapping folks, working with counties, working with the E911 folks, told the FCC, you missed a lot of addresses in North Carolina. These addresses are worth money. Reevaluate. They did. We were going to get $1 billion with a B. I still can't get rid of that number. We're now getting $1.5 billion to focus on broadband. And I'll share where that money's going in just a second. I won't belabor this. This is a slide that's available online at North Carolina Broadband. This is also available if you go to North Carolina Broadband. There's a dashboard. You already know this information, but it just seemed to make sense to put it in there. And this is what you have if you turn it sideways and look at the county, exact same thing to talk about what Vance County looks like. Now, when you look at this map, and this is available through the CAB planning tool, you'll see these different colors. These little units of measurement are called hex bins. It's an artificial designation, and all it does is show the relative number of addresses within that hex bin that do not have access to broadband. So the deeper the color, the higher the number of folks that can't access broadband. So this helps you when you're looking at it to really look at what the deficiencies are in the county and work with us to figure out how to best resolve those deficiencies. Renee asked me to talk a little bit about Brightspeed. I think you guys are familiar with their award. They said they're going to serve 662 locations that are residential locations, 2 that are business locations. What I've circulated is the reports we received to date. They're required to submit a progress report every 90 days. We require this for 2 years. We also go on site to monitor the construction for a 2-year period. Once that construction period has ended, we continue to monitor to ensure they're doing what they said they were going to do under the terms of the grant agreement for an additional 36 months. So far today, based on my review of the progress reports and a brief conversation with the construction manager, you can see on the right side of the arrow what they're communicating to me. The way the process generally works whenever broadband projects are built out is there's going to be, once the project was approved for a grant, there's an initial desktop design. Once the design is complete, the provider will then go out and walk the site, or they'll literally go out and they'll like drive 10 feet, get out, get back in the car, they'll drive another 300 feet, get out. A lot of this depends on whether they're going to put their infrastructure on existing poles. Do they own the poles? Does someone else own the poles? Or are they maybe going to go in the ground? That determines what this walkout looks like. If they're going to go on someone else's poles, they then have to negotiate with that pole owner. That pole owner will contract with a third-party engineering firm to go do their own pole assessment because they're trying to determine, can the existing poles handle the additional weight or load of fiber cable? Because the fiber cable, the conduit that holds it, and the strand, the metal strands that are holding it are pretty heavy. So they have to make sure that the pole can support that additional weight. If pole replacement is required, which can cost between $2,500 and up to $20,000 per location, and somebody else owns the pole, they have to negotiate that cost and actually have to pay in advance to have that work done. They won't bill Brightspeed after the fact. Once that work is done, Brightspeed will then come to the county and begin to look at what's required to get the construction project permitted. They'll also begin to develop what are called as-built drawings. These are like blueprints that they're going to give to construction firm that are actually used to build out the network. In the meantime, they have to order their materials. So they have to order the conduit, they have to order the strand, the lash, which is what holds the conduit to that strand. Of course, the fiber material and the electronics to go into place for all the work to be done. So as you can see right now, they consider themselves to be on time, on budget. Construction is underway. They have contracted with 2 construction firms to do the actual construction work for them. So to report back to Renee, as she asked, it appears to me at this point in time that they're on track. The next report period is due, well, Friday. So we'll probably have that in hand within the next couple of weeks, and I'll follow up with Renee once I can take a look at that, let you know if there are any discrepancies that show up. There is a grant management team. George Collier heads that team, and he's got 5 or 6 people on his team that do nothing but monitor and manage this, including doing the field work where our folks actually go out to see on site that this work is getting done. I talked briefly about the completing access to broadband process. This is the program that's underway right now. A key part of this is when we went out and met with counties, what I believed was important was counties were going to have to put, and you'll see that in a subsequent slide, in many cases, at least in 61 counties, up to 35% of the cost of a project into a broadband procurement through the CAB program. A lot of money. I thought that counties and our team required a higher level of due diligence than we have with the Great Grant program. So we actually put together a pre-qualification process called eligibility application, where if you wanted to bid on our projects in North Carolina, you had to complete this RFP and be pre-qualified. We had 69 total applicants come through the process. We actually qualified 41 of those to participate in our projects. We had a couple of people call after the fact, hey, how do I get involved in CAB and stopgap and pole replacement? Well, you can't unless you're pre-qualified. Yeah, I know, but how do we do it? Well, it's already over. Yeah, but there's an exception. There's not an exception. If you want our money and the county's money, you had to come through this due diligence process. And this pre-qualification process applies from here on out. Now, I've got this slide up because if you look where the red box is, this shows what current legislation requires in terms of contributions by a county. And for Vance County, you get the short end of the stick, in my opinion. You receive more than $8 million in ARPA funding, which means that a project in Vance County that's a CAB project would require you to invest 35% of the cost of that project. Now, for some counties, getting 65 cents on the dollar was a good deal. But I've gone to a lot of counties where that county manager or maybe a board chairman, we've sat across from each other and they've held up a sheet of paper and said, I'm looking at all my ARPA eligible projects. I don't see broadband on here anywhere. I see water, I see sewer, I see public safety, I see public health. I don't see broadband. My job is to support you and your needs in the county, even if you didn't participate in CAB in this first round. That's our job. How can we help you with broadband, even if you didn't participate in CAB? Now, legislation has been proposed in the General Assembly in both the House and the Senate to change this requirement. This was based on the fact that back in the day, when the legislature said, hey, we're going to put a whole bunch of ARPA money into funding broadband. Oh, well, the counties have a bunch of money. And if broadband is that important, let them put their money where their mouth is. But that money's spent. It's 2024. It's not 2021, 2022 anymore. The money's gone. So that argument really doesn't hold much sway. It's in legislation. However, the General Assembly has gone home. So it's out there for another probably 3 months until it comes up again. So my focus is to talk to any county that wants to talk about broadband. I'm happy to talk about CAB. I'm probably talking to the counties that got less than $8 million because they only have to put in either 5% or 10% towards a project. So I've got Polk County, for example, they put $800,000 into a project. They're getting $8 million in funding from our team for a broadband project. So I want to get all those counties in, but I also want to figure out how to benefit Vance County. So that's something I think a lot about and we're working on. I won't belabor this. I talked about the fact that how it worked, what we're doing. We've put out $179 million. We talked about a lot of counties are doing a lot of things with us. Again, won't belabor that because you guys can read the slides either here on your own time, just as good as I can tell you what it is. I do want to talk about the Office of Digital Equity and Literacy because this is so important. Half the battle is building infrastructure to get to all the citizens in your county. The other half is to figure out how to help them be able to pay for it, how to help them be able to use it. And that's where this team comes into play. Now, in the CAB program, we did ask point blank, do you support the ACP program, Affordable Connectivity Program? However, that program has sunsetted. There's very little money left in it. There's no guarantee that it's going to be reintroduced or reenacted. That represented an opportunity for eligible households to receive a credit for up to $30 a month off of their broadband bill. So one of the things we asked in the scopes of work for CAB is, how does your company support rate plans for low-income eligible households? I know I grew up, we got $120 a month in child support and $80 a month in food stamps. I couldn't have afforded broadband. I grew up in a single-parent household, ice on the toilet, so forth, so on. I would want somebody to help me, and that's what our Odell team tries to do, is to try and make sure we can help these eligible households afford it. So in these responses that we got back, the counties in particular, the evaluation teams, were very interested in looking at the answer to that question. And we actually gave higher marks to companies, said, you know what, we've got some plans to support those eligible users. Brightspeed, I know, has a plan for low-income eligible households. Spectrum has a plan. AT&T has a plan. Some of their smaller companies also have plans. We really looked carefully at that to make sure that that was a key consideration. We have $1.5 billion coming in this, what's called BEAD funding. I'm not sure exactly what it means. Well, there it is, Broadband Equity Access and Deployment. It just says BEAD. It's great we have all this money coming. The issue is because it's a federal program that's administered through the states, our legislature has to make sure that our state programs align with what the federal requirements are. And the best way I can describe it, having won RDOF grants and Reconnect grants for public, for clients when I was in private work, I guess you'd call it, is in CAB, if you want to specify a location, say, you know what, we've looked at this and this is an area of need and we want to orient dollars towards that area. Okay, we can do that. In federal programs, it could be, we can go there if the houses are blue, it has 12 windows and 3 to 5 people live in that house. And then after 6 months, it might be, okay, we'll look at red houses that are 2 stories and 4 people live in the house. Federal procurement requirements can get very specific. We're trying to keep them as broad as we can because again, our job is to get the money out of the trunk of my car and into Vance County where it does some good. But BEAD is on the way. We'll be keeping Renee up to date on that. And I'll move on to the next one. There's going to be some links in the presentation that I send to her that she can forward to you. That'll give you some examples of the work that we're doing in BEAD right now to make sure we get this money coming in. I get asked to do a timeline. Here's a timeline. The fundamental thing isn't what's happened. It's the fact that we should start to see this money flow in 2025. We can't spend any BEAD money until we spend the rest of the current money that we have, which is about $230, $240 million in existing CAB funding and the $90 million that we have in stopgap funding. These are some references. I'm supposed to have a title across the top. If you click on those, when you get the spreadsheet, they'll go to something that's pretty cool. So you'll learn more. And I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have. I hope this was useful in an abbreviated time frame that nobody went to sleep, I didn't think. But I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
What's the estimated completion date of the Brightspeed project?
It's 2 years from the date of contract. So my guess is it's probably going to be, I would say, probably May or June of next year. They get 24 months from date of contract.
How close,
Go ahead.
how close are they to completing?
Pardon me?
How close are they to completing?
Right now, they're saying they have 74% based on what I looked at, 75% of the final engineering work done that completed that leads to completing the as-built, but they've also done some of the construction work. There's not a percentage on the amount of construction work that they've done. I'm assuming that's a process called make-ready. Make-ready is before they put conduit on the poles, they actually go, if there's existing infrastructure on the pole, they'll move that down 12 inches. They'll prep that pole if they don't replace it to take the new infrastructure come in. They'll strengthen that part of the pole. It has to be 40 inches. If it's on a utility pole, it has to be 40 inches below the existing electrical infrastructure. So usually providers, even if it's on infrastructure, they'll move themselves down 12 inches and put themselves in the place where they formerly were. That work is probably, when they refer to they've got construction underway, that's probably the work that they have underway. If they're going in the ground, they've probably done the DOT analysis where they've done the equivalent of the 811 to determine where they can go in the ground. Most providers in North Carolina would do a combination being in the air and in the ground. In the ground's conduit. Some providers will trench, which means they just cut a hole or a path and they'll drop the cable in there. Brightspeed always uses conduit.
Thank you.
Can they coexist with water lines? We've got a water project that's going in the southern part of the county. Can they go in the same trench?
Yeah, no, they can't go in the same trench, but they can coexist. And Brightspeed should know, but knowing that what you have going on, I can reach out to them and I can talk to their VP of engineering and say, hey, was it Vance County? Just want to make sure you know this.
This is personal. How much in turn, my wife switched to Brightspeed when they came in terms of Brightspeed. Now her emails are being bounced back and she can't say, who do I need to talk to?
My guess is, that's all right. Can you email me? The reason why I say that.
She can't send anything.
Can you email me though?
Okay.
If you email me, I'll give you an example. We had a lady in Pink Hill outside of Kinston that called and she was an older lady. She said, something happened. I can't do email. And I called their tech support. I don't speak that language. And that's because when it was CenturyLink, all their tech support, their tier 1 technical support was in Thailand and Laos. Since Brightspeed has been divested out of CenturyLink, they're moving their customer support. Their headquarters is going to be in Charlotte. So their customer support centers are going to be in Charlotte and Alabama. But if you want to have them reach out, if you can send an email to me on your wife's behalf.
Reach out to you because I'm technologically challenged.
Yeah.
She's frustrated.
I'll give you my card. You can call me.
We had one neighbor do Brightspeed and they decided it was too much problem. They went back to Spectrum.
I'll give you my card.
Thank
Have her call me. I'll follow up and we'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Approximately how much of Vance County is still without any of the services at all, do you know?
Not off the top of my head, but I'll tell you in the morning.
Yeah, there's the new mark is 100 down, 100 up.
It's
25
100
down.
megabits of service down, 20 megabits up. It will be 100 over 100. If provider has, if they come in and say it's 100 down and 20 up, they have 2 years, if they can only do 20, to migrate to 100. The average household uses 40 to 60 megabits.
So you said the darker colors on here indicate that we do not have one.
There's going to be a lower percentage. There are links in there, but I will send you an email. And if you want to, I'll set up a time and walk through the cab tour with you. And you can brief the board, or I'm happy to come back if they're so bored and they can put up with me. Because when you look at this map, and you may be able to see it on the printout, you'll see all the little red dots. Those are the addresses that have no service or they're underserved. When you see little green dots, they have service. When you see blue dots, they don't have service yet. It's on the way because those dots have been funded, and it's on an address level basis. It's every single address.
Are they based on the 100, 100 or the 120? What are they? What are these
100 over
maps?
100.
These maps are
Yes,
based
sir.
on that.
Yes, sir.
With districts.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Okay.
I was worried so many people left, and I thought they heard it was going to be about broadband. I said, Lord, I wore my good socks too. So, I was trying to be good to go. If there are no other questions, I'll give you my card. I'll give you all my card. Please feel free to call me. I'm here to help you any way that I can. That's my job.
Do you still need this back?
Pardon? No, you can have those. I need the other stuff back. I've been 2 years. I had no cards. I finally went to Vistaprint, got cards. I got to hand them out. So I appreciate it.
Thank you,
for your
sir.
time, sir. Thank you very much.
Stephanie stuff you, emails being bouncing back and she's frustrated.
I'd love to have her call me.
We'll call
I'll give you 2 cards.
That's
Thank you very much.
Information on the back of one call. Give it back to them. Keep it on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Information on the back of one.
Y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. What's his name?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's gonna give you his information.
Okay.
He put it on the back of your car. So he can-
Back when I was a salesman, they always told you to give out 2 cards. So, I'll give him another one.
That's our information. I don't ever call them.
All right. And her name's Kelly. Oh,
That's me.
hang on.
That's her.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right. Next, we have Elliot Clark with Via. Big day with Via today.
Looking good. All right, and just. Thank you. Right, let's fire this thing up. Well, I tapped it. Can you guys, can't see anything behind me either, right?
You ready?
There we go. Got it. All right. Didn't click it hard enough. All right. Good evening, everybody.
Thanks.
Commissioners, County Manager. Thank you for this opportunity to come before you. I have promised Renee that I'll keep it to 15 minutes, and I'm gonna do my darndest to uphold that promise. We do have a lot of information to share, but I'm gonna do my best to be concise. We have some new things to discuss as of today, as Medicaid continues to transform for this population that we serve. But again, Elliot Clark, I represent Via Health. We are a public managed care organization, 32 counties in the state that we serve. My area of focus is Vance, Granville, Franklin, and Person counties. I won't read through our whole mission, but just to highlight, the public aspect of who we are as an organization is probably the most important to us. As we exist through statute, we are governed on a local basis We're advised by community members, stakeholders, and members, folks that receive care from us. Our mission is to make sure that we can evolve with this constant changing system that we work within and make sure that we can maximize services and outcomes for the people that we cover. All right, so the big news as of today, on the heels of Medicaid expansion, and as the state has expanded Medicaid, we're transforming Medicaid. Part of that transformation is around whole person care. So what the trend in this state now is not to just to have health plans cover a piece of the care for an individual, but to make sure that we address all of their needs in a healthcare setting, right? So primary care, pharmacy, not just behavioral health care. So as of today, we have the ability to operate as that tailored plan of what we call. A couple of areas that I'll highlight briefly, and I will not read all these slides word for word, or I will fail my County Manager Perry's promise. But I do want to mention that within the expansion, it is benefiting our members in particular. Most of our members, we're a small specialty plan. We focus on the highest, most complex membership. That's individuals with serious and severe and persistent mental illness, substance use disorders, and developmental disabilities. Within the 479,000 folks that have been added under Medicaid expansion, Vance is looking at about 2,600 that we've been able to expand to as of early June of this year. For our health plan, about 1,800. The total enrollment in Vance County for Medicaid is about 22,000. And just to give you guys a snapshot of where we are, as a smaller health plan, specialty health plan, we're at about 1,847 for Vance County. So we launched as a tailored plan today, as did other LME MCOs in the state. There are 4 LME MCOs that are existing. So what that means is we will cover physical and behavioral health. We have led the state as far as tailored plan readiness and meet all of our network adequacy standards. And as of today, we're covering those services. One important aspect that sometimes gets overlooked, and it impacts our local DSS office in particular, but one of the things that Medicaid health plans are now covering is non-emergent medical transportation. Previously, that was all managed and routed through county DSS offices. So that's an important aspect to think about as far as how we're covering. We're not just covering the care from the provider, we're covering services to make sure they can get there adequately. So quick overview. For the first time, I've been in this field for about 20 years now, about 21 years, and I've never seen the state invest in mental health care in particular, the way we have this last budget. Within the whole expansion bonus that the state procured from the federal government, the legislature designated $865 million to go specifically towards improving behavioral health care across the state. 80 million of that was earmarked specifically to improve one of the areas that's one of the highest need in Vance County in particular, and that's our crisis system. I've never seen within any of my years of experience an investment specifically to be in our crisis system. It's especially important in our rural counties where you don't have tax base and revenue to fund large diversion programs and crisis centers like you do in urban areas. So as soon as we were notified of that particular budget and the opportunity with the state, VIA put together a proposal to DHHS to fund 2 particular programs in Vance County that I'll talk about that will improve that crisis system that we'll touch on here in a little bit later in the presentation. As part of a tailored plan, one thing I wanted to highlight is that we'll cover not just reimbursing health claims, but also incentivizing people's health and wellness through social determinants of health. So as a part of VIA Total Care, there are incentives and value-added services that touch on education, non-medical transportation as well, and food insecurity. Those are just some of the listed value-added services that we cover for our members now. And there's a link at the bottom if you're curious. Quick snapshot. I mentioned there are 4 LME MCOs. I won't crawl through all these counties, of course, but as you can see, those 4 MCOs are Alliance Health, Trillium Health Resources, Via Health, and Partners Behavioral Health. And there's a map for your reference. I wanted to make sure that you guys saw that there was a recent change in February and a merger between Sandhills, East Point, and Trillium that changed this map considerably. All right, so let's talk about Vance County in particular, some of our priority areas of focus. This is probably the largest opportunity for us, but there's no secret about it. It's also a pain point in this community. We've been without a crisis center, a diversion center in this community for about 1.5 years now. In March of last year, we had a organization, RI, that had been in operation in Vance County, operating 10 beds, mostly through non-hospital detox services primarily, closed down. And since then, we have been scouring and trying to develop a diversion center that will be sustainable and adequate for this community. I won't go too far into that without overlooking our accomplishments through mobile crisis. We have transitioned that contract. It's been very successful. We've seen almost 4 times the amount of service provision, and our feedback has been from the community that this mobile crisis team is doing very well, meeting the needs of the community. That's through RHA Health Services. But specifically, what I'll touch on as far as where we are with the diversion center development, there's 2 programs that we submitted to the state to ask for support. One is our adult program, and it's not the same 10-bed facility that was primarily serving folks with non-medical detox. This is a 16-bed facility, and this is I'll go brief. I know you guys heard this the last time we were up here, but there's 3 main components of this adult diversion center that we're trying to build out. It's a 16-bed facility-based crisis. That's an overnight facility that can take folks under involuntary commitment, help stabilize them. Usually the length of stay is about 4 or 5 days, and transition them out into the community. There's a behavioral health urgent care that's a component of the adult facility that will be a 23-hour program, much more brief, so folks can come in, get assessed, basically get a prescription and help make sure that they can get linked to their outpatient appointment. And there'll be an outpatient clinic. And I mention all of these, and I'm taking my time here, but I want to make sure that folks understand the importance of the sustainability of that particular program. A standalone facility, especially a smaller facility, is very difficult to sustain over a long period of time. It does not provide an adequate revenue because it is primarily funded through folks that don't have good health coverage that wind up being funded through the state. So we need that type of a program to diversify, offer outpatient services that will bring in Medicaid and help that program survive. So when we do it, we want to do it right. The new facility, a child facility-based crisis, that's the second program that we've submitted to the state for support, will be a 16-bed facility. We've currently got a site that we're looking at and have a design and a provider that we're in conversations with and feel that we're making progress towards. And that will be the services that will be entailed in that particular facility will just be a facility-based crisis. It will not entail the entire scope of the outpatient, primarily because a smaller facility like that can sustain most of the kiddos that you have coming in receiving that level of treatment already have Medicaid. They're well-funded, and it's easier to sustain as a standalone program. Another priority area and an initiative that we've been working through over the last 5 or 6 months is an initiative you guys might have heard of. You might have shown up to some of the mental health forums and heard about some of this, but is our Faith and Mental Health Initiative. We're partnering with the Office of Representative Sossaman, DHHS, our health department, and so far we've had 32 local area churches in Granville and in Vance County, and we're forming this as a pilot program and have been in touch with the state to hopefully receive funding so that churches can go through a certification process of education and training to not just better inform of what services are in the community, but to help folks prioritize, okay, here's a number to call, but here's what to expect. Here's how to get connected with this particular provider. There's 3 levels of certification that we're offering training to all of those local area churches for free, that they would be able to be a conduit for behavioral health in the community. We recognize that you can't serve the whole person without addressing spirituality and the opportunity that exists to make sure that our churches and our faith base are better informed about how to connect people. So there are conversations that are already happening. And we've already got churches that we've done first level trainings with. Mental health first aid is a big one. QPR, which is a suicide prevention and awareness training. So we're really excited about that particular initiative. That's big for Granville and Vance. The state's looking at us as a model that will hopefully expand across the state as a pilot.
Before you move on, could I ask you a quick question?
Yes, sir.
About the diversion centers and everything.
Absolutely.
Did you say they're not sustainable in terms of permanent location? In terms of having one particular place and everything, in terms of brick and mortar, that's not sustainable?
It would be sustainable for the adult program, because what you wind up having primarily with adults that come through the crisis system, most of them aren't well insured. They don't have Medicaid. They're funded through the state, basically, right? So in order for a program to be sustainable, you either have to do 2 things. One, you have to have a lot more state money than we have right now. Medicaid expansion is helping a little bit. This is a little bit of a test. We're going to see, this is new. But you need to have a diversification in how many services are offered in that site. So if you have a standalone facility-based crisis that's just 10 or 12 beds, they don't have enough other revenue to sustain how you operate that, because you have to staff it with a psychiatrist, you have to staff it with nursing staff. It's a very expensive model to operate. So you either have to have a lot of state funding, or you have to have a county that supplements the operations of that facility largely. To give an example, Durham and Wake do have some standalone services, facility-based crisis services, but they supplement the operations of that over $3 and $4 million a year, over and above what they can bill for actually providing the service.
Back at what we had before, when we just had the 10 beds, that wasn't a good mix.
Not as a standalone facility, no, sir. What we did, and this definitely predates VIA. This was Cardinal as well. A lot of what we did with that organization was try and help them add services to that program to help sustain, right? We were never able to get to a point where they were willing to pull down those other services and add that to their model, and eventually could not sustain that type of an operation in that facility.
Tell me real briefly, how does the things for the children work and everything? That's sustainable, what?
As a little bit smaller of a program, it's more sustainable because you have a higher Medicaid base. Most children that come in through the system are on Medicaid.
So are the beds 16 total for children and adults, or you got 16 for each?
16 for each, the 2 different facilities, and the model will be 16 for children.
Okay.
And 16, because you can't have more than 16 in the state of North Carolina, then you get to another category of hospital.
So how are you partner with churches? How do you get information that they can partner with you?
So we've had a few different forums, and Representative Sossaman has been primarily the one that's kind of initiated and opening some of this and advertising it. So we have a core group of VIA, the health department, and the state, DHHS, and his office to try and work out. There's currently legislation, I think it's House Bill 982. So some of what we're waiting on is for that to make some more motion and the state to actually allocate some of the funding that they've indicated is going to be available for this. But primarily it's through just advertising, word of mouth, and
so the advertising is through what? I haven't seen it. Where's that? That's through Sossaman?
some of Representative Sossaman's office, some of what we did through the mental health forums that we held were some radio spots. We've obviously, been networking through the health department, DSS, that type of thing. But it's had some media coverage as well. But we're also open, we've had churches reach out to us and say, hey, we want to learn more about this. We don't know if that's what we want. We don't know if we want this whole 3-tiered system, and that's fine. Some churches just come and say, hey, we want a mental health first aid training. We just want to have an entry-level exposure to this. And we've worked with individual churches to do that as well. Most recently, actually, the Shiloh Baptist Association in particular, we did a bit at their annual meeting this year, and talked about the trainings we can offer. Thank you for that question. Let's see. As far as our partnership with the health department, 2 primary areas. There's the focus around improving school-based mental health and just services for youth and families. That's accomplished through their participation with us in our Tri-County Community Collaborative. I'll talk a little bit more about 2 investments there in a moment, but also through our Stepping Up initiative, which, as you guys know, you've heard about this, primary focus there is for folks that are involved in the criminal justice system to try and keep folks out of that system. Just most recently, we had a training at Vance Granville Community College and certified, I believe it was 6 new officers at the Vance County Sheriff's Department and our local EMS station department as well. A few other areas that we've offered some support and have partnerships with is with Mariah Parham. We have a designated acute transitional care manager that's trying to help folks that are caught up in the emergency departments and in their inpatient facility try and transition out to outpatient and get connected. We also have had a partnership with DSS. We have a full-time embedded care manager that works with their social workers focused on trying to coordinate placements for youth and improve the continuum for youth, specifically for youth in foster care. Within the school system, we have great participation from schools within our community collaborative as well. We have a new school-based mental health provider that's operating within the schools, and just something fun and very beneficial, I think, for this population. We've partnered with Special Olympics and recently had an event over at Vance High School with some students over there around wellness, but have also partnered with them around doing more wellness programming in this county in particular. And then our last bit that I'll mention here as far as partnerships is through our supportive housing program. We've operated, and I'm sure you guys remember, I will not get into all the detail and re-traumatize all of us, but a lot of the services and supports that we offered within the closure of the Motel 121 were through that grant. I'll tell you that we have 5 slots that were allocated for this grant, and we used 4 of them, all but 1, for residents within Vance County to try and help folks. Of those folks, we have 4 families that have been placed in supportive housing. But those 5 slots are meant to serve Vance, Granville, and Franklin counties. Our other program there that we linked families within that situation was our transitions to community living. Those for families that are at risk of institutionalization. There was one family in particular that met that criteria, and we've placed them in a permanent supportive home as well. Couple of the investments through our community collaborative, just to remind folks, the participants there are the schools, DSS, the health department, some of our youth and family providers, juvenile justice. We've had 3 investments this year. I won't talk too much about the one in Granville County since we're in Vance County, but we've also sponsored Youth Fest in our summer day camp to help build into some wellness programming and actually some kits, some wellness kits for those participants. And most recently, we've sponsored the school districts in Vance, Franklin, and Granville with $3,000 for the next school year for wellness kits as well, to include new backpacks, new information about mental health, the importance of mental health, and to offer some of that education material as well. We touched briefly on the representative forums. We've also participated in the ones on human trafficking and childcare. One brief point about that is that we'll add a course within our CIT training that's specific around how to train officers on recognizing signs of human trafficking. We also have participation in our teen pregnancy prevention initiative. That's a partnership with Franklin Granville Vance Smart Start and the health department. And we participate regularly on our Vance Substance Use Coalition, which we feel will help advise counties on how to better utilize our opioid settlement dollars. Little plug there. All right, few numbers. One of the areas that we cover is obviously our innovations waiver. That is the most costly service we offer. That's the service that helps keep individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities out of state institutions and living in the community. This is the area that we are very dependent upon the state to open up new slots for these services. In Vance County, we have 65 individuals on that waiver that receive those services, and we have 67 on the wait list. I can tell you, yes, sir. Oh, sorry. I've lost track of my time. I was looking at my watch for a while.
Yeah.
All right. Quick overview around our care management volume here. Most of the volume there is for folks with primary mental illness. And then our last bullet there is around emergency department utilization. This is a small sliver of what the hospital receives, but you can read through some of those numbers. Primarily, what we see there is a decrease in the actual readmissions. So the actual event where somebody would come out of the hospital and have to go back within 30 days is declining, which is a good quality indicator there. And I will hush my mouth and take questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I looked at these ambitious programs you put up there and all of the partners you call them. What's the size of your staff here? How many people are here working?
Oh, wow.
All these programs that you outlined that you're trying to get done. And what is the status of how far you got with it, other than opening up an avenue or identifying them? How many people are actually working on this?
Let me see if I can understand that specifically. You talking about VIA staff that work within the county?
You said VIA is doing all this. I want to know what size staff does VIA have here in this county working on this?
I'd have to give you an estimate.
Up here, you've got a pretty big count, a big size staff.
I'd have to give you an estimate on the total number of staff that actually work and serve Vance County. I'd probably estimate around 20. Most of those folks are care managers that work directly with families, helping them link to services. We do have a trainer, actually 2 trainers that train this area. You have 2 community relations staff, myself and a manager. Most of the folks that work, you have folks in quality management that go out and do reviews in programs with providers, making sure that providers are operating with quality there. I wish I knew that number right off the top of my head. Most of them are care managers, though, that work specifically with families. I'm not sure if that's answering your question in complete. The projects that we have that are dependent, you're talking about the diversion projects primarily, I think is
That
what you're.
fact that you're talking about, you're in the schools, so is there? a
Yes.
person in the schools working on the diversion centers? Is there a person in the sheriff's office? Is there? Is there a person at the county health center? Is there a person in all of these areas you have? And what kind of progress are they making?
So
And what are the metrics for measuring those goals? What is your success rate? I'm hearing proposals. I'm
Sure.
not hearing results.
yeah, so I can tell you the progress that we've made.
What I'm hearing is, this is our vision. This is what we're trying to get done.
Yeah, right now it's.
But I'm not hearing the staff or people in place to realize that vision. And how are you measuring success in all of these different areas? I'm concerned about that, considering you're asking for money to help support all of this.
Well, we haven't asked for any additional money yet, and I don't know that based on what we've gotten indicated from the state that will need additional money from the county to accomplish some of this. But I'm going to try to break down that because there's a lot of components to it. A lot of the dependencies that we have around a program like a diversion center are primarily with a provider that's willing to do it, right? That can operate and run the diversion center. VIA is not going to, we contract with the provider to do it. So there's that partnership. That's the biggest. That's always going to be, the biggest dependency there is having the provider to be willing to do it. I will say, as far as the vision versus progress, some tangible progress that we have is that we do have a provider that's already indicated for the child facility that is drawing up construction plans, has already drawn up construction plans, is in the process of submitting a cost estimate for those. Another dependency around the progress to this, as you probably remember, we had a site that we had planned out for this adult diversion center, 30,000 square foot site off Dabney Drive, that we invested a lot of time and money in creating plans for, that was not approved by the city. When that came down in April, we had to pivot away from that idea, which was a bit of a surprise. So I will say also that, on the child facility end, the site that we're looking at currently, we've had to hit a reset button earlier in the year because the facility, when it was remodeled under the previous provider, the size of all the rooms was reduced small enough that the state would not license them anymore. So when we came in and started making plans for that facility, we had to bring the state back in and rework the whole project. When I first came to you and talked to you about, hey, we've got a site, we're hoping that we can lift this site back up after the current provider gets out. Out of no control from us, we've had to come back in and create a plan that would essentially completely remodel that facility. So I understand your question. You want to know tangible progress results on these specific visions that we have. And I want you to understand that of some of the hurdles and barriers that, despite the plans and the investment that we've made and will continue to make, a lot of that has been without our control, right? How we measure it?
Did you use the old Cardinal Innovation building in Henderson for anything?
Staff meetings. We hold community meetings there, and staff that work in the community have touchdown space there. That is actually the facility that we are looking at for the child facility-based crisis currently. There's not an active lease on that facility, but that is the facility that we're getting a cost estimate on now.
Done what you showed us, but basically, we're looking at a lot of things. Like the RI building, you're looking at it, but you're not committed to it.
We're doing more than just looking at it. We're paying for construction plans and getting a cost estimate from a contractor to build it out.
Well, I guess one of the other things is, we have people embedded in the social services that are facilitating some of the cases there.
Correct.
And then additional to that, just the case management support that we use with some of the programming. There are people that from VIA that are participating in that.
And I would say, measuring progress, measuring success is big. I mean, we depend on our public health system, our hospital system, our DSS to partner closely with us and give us feedback on how we're doing. And I can tell you that a lot of what we've done has very much benefited all of those departments, and I think that they would speak on that behalf as well. If you want math and science to it, some of the quality indicators around the ED reduction as far as our members go and how we've been able to link some of those folks is an indicator of progress. The higher provision of mobile crisis, that's an indicator of progress, at least within the crisis continuum. So there's a lot of different ways to approach it, and I appreciate that question, Dave.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.
You're based, where are you based at? Where's your office?
On South Garner Street, 134 South Garner Street, same location.
Physically there? Correct.
I work there. You know, a lot of the health plan staff across the state are remote, but that's a touchdown hub that we have for VIA in this region that staff come in and work. We don't fill the space. I mean, we had 100 people working there when it was 5 county, but it was different. You know, they weren't remote based.
Right.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, Renee. Maybe I'll get it closer next time, but I appreciate the questions. Thank you. Want me to tap that?
All right. There's no one from EnviroLink here tonight. Okay. The water district report is in your monthly operations report. If anyone has any questions, we'll open the water board. Other than that, we'll continue on. Is there any questions? Okay. Next, we have a finance director's report.
Good evening. Fire tax fund balance. At the June 13th, 2024 budget work sessions, there was a consensus to equally disperse approximately 1/2 of the fire tax fund balance amongst the 9 volunteer fire departments. At the time of the discussion, the fund balance was estimated to be around $600,000. The actual balance as of June 30th, 2023 was $592,432. During the budget preparation process, $203,588 of the fire tax fund balance was appropriated to fund the increase of the $30,000 per fire department and to balance revenue to expenses, thereby reducing the amount of the fire tax fund balance from $592,432 to $388,844. So my recommendation would be after the completion of the fiscal year 23-24 audit review, and we have a confirmed updated fire tax fund balance amount, we will equally disperse 1/2 of the unappropriated fund balance to the non-volunteer fire departments. So this will come back to the Board of Commissioners at the time for approval, and we estimate that time to be around November, December 2024.
So that'll be half of the 388.
Well, it will be another, it may be more, it may be less.
Okay.
Yes, depending upon the audit,
Half.
after the audit. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's just,
Mhm.
So we don't need to
Yes.
take any action on that right now.
just information on.
Okay. All right. Is that all you have?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Committee reports and recommendations.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Properties Committee, the committee, Austin, Brumman, and Taylor met on June 17th of 2024 to discuss the following agenda items. So the first item was the real estate leases. The committee reviewed the list of county leases and advised the county manager and staff to move forward with reviewing each lease to see if they are in compliance with the lease and/or contract terms. Staff will bring back an update once that list is reviewed and updated. And so that's for your information only. The next thing that was discussed at the Properties Committee meeting was the Eaton Johnson Gym. The county manager advised the committee of the much-needed maintenance to the Eaton Johnson Gym. The committee recommends moving forward with an RFP process for HVAC and getting costs on shower upgrades. The county manager also advised the committee that a MOU is needed for the city of Henderson to use the facilities moving forward. Staff will bring an update back to the Board of Commissioners. So the recommendation is just to authorize the county manager to engage in an RFP process for the HVAC system and find a contractor to assist with shower upgrades for Eaton Johnson Gym.
In addition to the shower grades, I believe there was some stall needs within those locker rooms.
Yes, I believe so, Frankie. Yes, that's correct. Yes, sir. Mhm.
Just so we got that.
Yes.
Whole process.
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we authorize the county manager to engage in an RFP process for the HVAC system and find a contractor to assist with shower upgrades.
I second it.
And the other needs in there.
And the other.
Yes,
needs.
other needs. Yeah. Mhm.
All needs.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed, motion carries.
Okay, so the next item was the REO properties. The committee reviewed a request from the city of Henderson to purchase several county properties as they have done in the past. The committee would like more information from the city of Henderson on how they intend to use the properties. So just as an update, everyone has a printout that we received from the city of Henderson today. And so the information from Paler says that the city expects to bundle the properties for workforce housing. A builder has taken a group they offered near Main Street, which is on the map that you all have, and they are getting additional inquiries as it relates to workforce housing. So that's the reasoning behind wanting to purchase those properties.
So we should probably take that back to the properties committee for further evaluation.
Okay, all right.
Now that we know where the properties are.
Okay.
What do they mean?
What do they mean by workforce housing?
I'll have to ask Paler. We didn't go into detail with them.
It's like this
That
all
was-
was
yeah,
just
we
returned
need
to us
some more
today.
information.
So
Yeah.
we'll get it, we'll go back to the
Okay.
next properties committee,
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to the properties committee with this.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, we'll schedule that. So the next item that was discussed was the Car Lake substation. So the station currently has a septic tank, but no drain field. Staff has to pump the tank about every 30 days with an annual cost of $4,000 to $7,000. There was a double wide on the property before the fire department was built. The fire department was built on top of the drain field, but there was no subtitle found for a new field. The health department gave a pump and haul permit for the septic system. The recommendation is to contract with a soil consultant to test the soil. The recommendation would be to approve the recommendation of using a soil consultant or keep the pump as is. If it is kept as is, the cost would remain at between $4,000 and $7,000 annually, compared to a one-time fee of about $7,000 to install a drain field.
How many acres do we have there?
Yeah, how many acres? I don't know.
Is it 4?
No idea. I don't know.
I was thinking it's around 4 acres.
How many times a year do they pump?
You said
They have to pump it about every 30
every
days.
day.
That's easy. Recommend we do the one for 7,000.
Yeah, make
What you say?
I make a motion and we pay the one-time fee
Well,
for 7,000.
now that's what you're saying right there is, that's what you're guessing installing drain lines would cost.
Yeah, that's about
Okay,
estimate.
depending on what the soil science comes up with,
Mhm.
it may end up being a pump system, it may end up
That's not what they
being
recommend.
above ground system, there could be a number of things that they could come up with in design, which could cost more money.
Mm.
But this right here just gives you a ballpark of an estimate on what you might be looking at.
Environmental Health went out and done several soil samples, and they could not find anything suitable enough to put a drain field in. That's why they recommend doing a soil consultant.
You can do the mic, Frank, say what now?
The Environmental Health did several testing of soils. They did several cores, and they couldn't find anything suitable. So that's why they said they recommend a soil consultant.
You know, what's funny to me is how in the world did it ever get built?
I don't have a clue.
Huh?
Don't have a clue.
Well, I'm not condemning, I'm just saying, in construction today, if you don't have if you don't have some kind of drain field with the tank, you can't get a good building permit.
And that permit was done, January 10th, 2014.
Well, yeah, I know, and the point was you needed to have a program, but the soil scientists today have so many other ways they can do things. That is a great recommendation because right now there's so many new things coming about that you can do to make things work.
So it's best to get a soil consultant, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah,
that's.
we just-
I think
Do a
we-
motion for us to move
Okay,
forward.
do
The
that.
soil consultant.
Well,
All we need is a motion.
well, how
I
about,
make that motion.
For a soil consultant.
I second
For
this,
soul
get out my mouth.
I'm sorry.
It's cool, we staying.
You can have it.
We have a motion and a second. We're gonna continue.
Soil, right?
Huh?
For the, soil, right?
Yeah.
Full side, correct. All right. So, motion second, any more discussion?
No, sir.
All in favor, aye? Opposed?
That was a good one.
Motion carries. We're not gonna argue over motions now. Fight over them.
We better go home.
That's what I'm trying to get there. All right. Next item.
Let's go. So, the Sally Port at the Sheriff's Office, staff advised the committee of the issues with the Sally Port door and the repeated issues. Staff recommends making the door higher to accommodate the vehicle height of a transport van. The height will be extended to 113 inches and the van height is 107 inches. Staff will coordinate installing a slide gate to allow the vehicles in and out of the Sally Port. There is a recommendation to install a light in the Sally Port that will come on when the gate is in motion and stop when the gate stops. There's also a recommendation of signage that is very visible in the Sally Port stating low ceiling height. The total cost is $26,500 and the recommendation is approval to move forward with recommendations at the Sheriff's Office, Sally Port.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Move to approve to move forward with recommendation of the sheriff's office salary.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
I just wanna, I don't have nothing, I just wondering, you know, the issue, when you talking about the height, what in the world been going on all this time? What have been keeping the vans from going? When I read, I couldn't understand what was
Vans,
happening.
vans now, they've got a new van that's a taller van now. You can't put anybody in a 15-passenger van anymore. They gotta be able to walk around and not bump their head.
So because of new
equipment.
time, quick, okay, I wonder what happened all this year.
So that's where we're at. Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next.
Okay, so Northern EMS Station Land Purchase Agreement, the committee agreed to allow the county attorney, Jonathan Kerr, to send a contract to the landowner to see if they will accept the $20,000 offer and allow 180 days for the county to get a survey and soil consultant to the property to see if the land will perk. So the recommendation is to approve the recommendation of the Properties Committee to move forward with the county attorney, sending the contract to the landowner.
So move.
Before we vote, I thought the board already voted and authorized to purchase the land.
We did.
We did.
And I'm not sure that's necessary.
Oh, okay.
Already have.
So why do we?
And you were doing due diligence, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, I thought we did.
Okay, well,
Already.
survey and soil consultant then, maybe that's what it is. So that's what it is. Okay, okay, all right. So the motion should be to survey, so for survey and soil consultant. Right, yes,
All right, so you got a motion?
Yeah.
yes,
That's
okay,
it.
okay.
Second.
My apologies.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. County managers report.
All right, so the city of Henderson, request for reimbursement. On Monday, June 3rd, 2024, at a special budget meeting, the city of Henderson City Council unanimously agreed to provide financial support in the amount of $2,000 each to the 22 remaining families still awaiting housing due to their displacement resulting from the shutdown of 121 Motel in Henderson. In total, the city appropriated $44,000 to assist these families with the funds to be used for rental deposits, extended hotel stays, and other related housing expenses as they transition to more stable long-term housing. In approving those payments, the city council also included in its motion that the city manager would request that Vance County Commissioners consider sharing in the cost of assisting the 22 families by reimbursing the city of Henderson 50% of the expenses incurred by the city to assist these families. This would equate to $22,000. So during the shelter, during that 1 week for the shelter, the county incurred the costs that are listed below in your report, in the agenda packet. And so my recommendation would be if this board chooses to reimburse the city, that there should be an offset to the costs that the county incurred. The total cost that the county incurred was about $26,905.67. So if the board chooses to move forward, that amount after the offset would be $8,547.16.
So if the board chooses to do nothing, no action is necessary?
Correct.
So you saying 8,000 that we would have to give them, or 8,000?
8,000 that we would
You
have to
said
give them.
we, is 22,000 and we was 50%, right?
So the,
So what's it, 26,000, that's more, so seeing they were owe us, wasn't it?
no, so the city paid out 44,000 total and we paid out 26,000. So the difference would be 8,500. So everything would be split in half. So what the city incurred and what the county incurred.
It's okay. I'll be back. What I have a problem with is this. When the incident with 121 occurred, the county footed the whole bill.
Mm-hmm.
We provided the gym.
Mm-hmm.
We provided the water bill. We
Mhm.
provided the light bill. We provided the porta potty.
Staff.
We provided the portable shower.
Yep.
We paid overtime to law enforcement to make sure that it was adequately security there. We paid for exterminators to make sure there was no issues of further bed bugs there.
Mhm.
And we were never reimbursed not one dime.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So now, without consulting us, the city has made a decision to in turn now give an additional $22,000 to the individuals that they say occupied the 121. But no requests had been made to the county prior to doing this. But yet there's an expectation that because the plan of the city was for them to give these people $2,000 for 22.
22.
The reason for the arbitrarily without even being requested as a board to give them half of that 22,000.
No, we had an official letter from the city of Henderson. Terrell sent me a letter.
Okay.
He did.
And so, you know, while we're sympathetic for the people
Mhm.
that were part of the 121, those residents who actually stayed at 121, my concern is, you know, if any of you all have been kept, you know, looking at social media, that was an accusation on social media. And there was a lot of responses that from some people said they weren't even at 121. And all of a sudden, we are supposed to pay for individuals that were not even at 121 and get them $2,000, which was a Band-Aid. So you got a situation where you're asking us to pay $2,000 for 22 families. That 22,000, that would barely cover 1 month for these individuals. So what about next month and the month and the month and the month after that? You know, when this occurred, the state actually came in and provided vouchers, from my understanding, for the families who occupied 121, so that would assist. So was there any follow-up to see whether what efforts the people made to follow up on trying to locate suitable housing?
I sent you all an update on Friday in your email.
I
that
think,
shows- I can get that to you, but yeah, we did get something from DHHS last week that shows, yeah.
I think your comments are well received.
Yeah.
I don't think you should cut her off. Let her finish.
And
That's what you need to do.
and we don't
Sit back
need,
in your chair, Dan, and let her finish.
and we don't need to take any action.
Because Commissioner Yolanda done won.
Yeah, I guess what my problem was here.
Let her finish, man. Don't cut off. Continue, Commissioner.
The county put,
Preach.
the county has been blamed for part of this. My understanding was some awning fell at this hotel that was not even near to where the people were staying at. And now all of a sudden, it's our fault. From my understanding, the county came in and asked for a structural engineer to evaluate the awning to see whether or not the place was habitable. It had nothing to do with where these people were staying at. From my understanding, they stand on the opposite side. Now, bed bugs and mold is not the county's problem. That's a city problem. But yet a state of emergency was called to handle a city problem, and the county, on its own initiative, stepped in and cleaned up the whole situation, but everybody was blaming the county. I have a problem with that. Because that wasn't right, it wasn't fair, and I don't believe that we should carry that label that we didn't do anything when we did everything. So that's what I have a problem with. And then now, because another decision being made, we're supposed to fork up another 22,000, which only covers 1 month. Now, these people are saying on social media that this $2,000 was given to individuals, and a lot of those people wasted that money. It did not go to housing, but it went to other things. And this was said by one person who said they got some money and they did not stay at 121. So I have a problem with that as well.
Who got the collection plate?
So my thing is, before we fork out one dime, we need to evaluate, even if everything was accurate. Was these people really at 121? Or if they were not, I don't see this board giving money for individuals that were not even part of the 121 issue. So that, that's my position on the situation.
Is that a consensus of the board?
Yes.
Did you have to ask?
Okay, next item.
All right, so the next item up under my report is carts around the town shuttle 24-25 appropriation. So the board agreed to fund carts for 6 months with an appropriation of $37,500. An email was received from Carts Director Randy Cantor showing appreciation for the appropriation, but he is requesting a 1-year commitment with a contract to cover a 12-month time frame due to the amount of time it has taken to prepare for termination, the possibility of having to do that again in 6 months if they're only funded for 6 months. They feel as if there are better options to offer the citizens of Henderson, I apologize. And so the recommendation of this board is to either approve or deny the request for additional funding to keep the shuttle open for 12 months instead of 6 months.
I have one question, Ms. Renee. Is this the same carts that the city denied to help?
The round town shuttle, correct?
Yes,
Sounds-
I don't want to say denied help, but they never took official action on it. The conversation that I had with Terrell is they never took official action. But no, they did not appropriate any additional funding for around the town shuttle for fiscal year 24-25.
But they want us to fit another whole bill.
My position.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear is.
My position on this is that, we don't give any more money for around the town shuttle. The around the town shuttle is primarily a city problem. Because it is the citizens in the city who need it the most to get around.
That's true.
And when we offered to pay half of that, we were helping the city fund something that they need for their citizens. And so my position on that is we put no more money into it. If the city is not willing to put half the bill, it's on them. That's where I am. And I would say that while they're trying to make up their mind, we just leave the 36,000 in our budget, and our manager then can decide if they put the money up, fine. If they don't, that's fine too. We have them spend it.
Well, as of today, the shuttle is not operating.
Yeah, as of Friday.
As of today, the shuttle is not operating.
Yeah,
Well.
yeah.
So
That's what
it's,
I'm
Yeah.
but, and the other part is that when Elliot was speaking to us a while ago, he talked about some of the new programs relative to transporting people with medical needs or non-medical needs, in certain cases. Additionally, there's another state program that's in the process of being developed that is sustainable and should be able to facilitate these people in their transportation. So
I've heard from Commissioner Taylor, that's what because he's on that board, and I wanted to hear what he thought about it, so I'm with Commissioner Taylor.
Taylor too.
Okay.
So did we take action on that at our previous board meeting? So we would need to have a motion to,
Mhm.
They done. What's the need to take a motion? They done.
They refused it, so
They refused it because they won't.
did we take action at our, oh, we just had consensus in the budget conversation, correct? But it was not in the budget.
Right. It was
Oh,
the
it's in our budget now.
37.5. Yes. The 37.5 was in the budget. Yes, for 6 months.
Archie, are you talking about leaving it in the budget and funding it for that much time, or if never funded it if they don't put the other part up?
Right. What I'm saying is we have agreed to pay half of it, even though it's a city problem. If they don't want to pay the other half, we don't spend out 36,000.
And so it stops operation.
Right.
That's what I wanted to know.
On the city if it stops operating, but leave out 36,000 in the budget and let the county manager decide whether they want to spend it or not, depending on what the city does.
Okay.
That's her handling.
Yeah, let her handle it. The money is there if the city spends their money.
And
Let her
plus,
handle it. Spend it, we don't spend it.
I got it.
and
Okay.
plus, CART rejected it, because
They
they
did.
rejected our 6 months.
They
We
did.
was doing a due diligence to help them with 6 months, so they
Right.
rejected it.
Correct.
If they wanted a year.
Yeah, they want 1 year commitment and a contract.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we did it, but they didn't recommend to do it.
Yeah, they denied, they don't want it.
They didn't want to do it, but they said if we're gonna do it, we gotta do it a year.
Correct.
Yeah. They gave
Right.
all the
All
money.
right.
Jonathan, tell me, I think if we, what is it? If I look at it, that we made the offer, they refused. Cox went at around town, went out of business today, so we don't need to do anything, right? That voids everything, right? By them not accepting our offer, makes it null and void, right?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It sounds like we have that in our budget and we have approved it.
Correct.
So it would probably be wise for this board to take action to hold, freeze, or amend the budget and pull that out so that it's not authorized vis-a-vis the budget.
Well, can we put a motion?
Could we just make a motion that says, the money is in our budget,
Yeah.
not to be spent unless the city matches.
Yeah.
But they
We'll
didn't
say
cancel it.
it's frozen until,
They didn't cancel it.
yeah, yeah, the bud, that portion of the budget is frozen until, unless the city makes a,
It's like freezing hiring, something like
right.
that. We
Okay.
frozen it.
So that was your
It's not gonna be
motion.
used unless the city.
I want to ask a question.
They canceled the service.
From my understanding, and this is, I don't know how true it is or anything like that, but the information I got is that the money is supposed to be there at the city. It was appropriated for that particular use. And the money is there. So if I would like for you to consult with the city manager.
Okay.
See if that was indeed true, but that came from someone who was formerly affiliated, in that office.
Okay.
That money was there for that purpose.
Okay.
See if that is indeed true, and if so, will they be utilizing it for the purpose for which it was set aside for?
Okay.
You know,
All right.
A lot of people in the community, they're upset
Mm,
because they relied, again, like I stated, for that transportation system to be
Okay.
put in place.
Okay.
And even, I'm not in favor of, if the city don't do it, the county don't do it, because it's a city problem, it's still, they still our people.
Okay.
Because we are Vance County.
Okay.
So I do have a problem with us not providing that sort of transportation, for the individuals, regardless of whether or not they're in the city limits or out in the county. We know they're not in the county, but still, it's a service for our people.
Okay.
We did provide. We did provide 6
we
months.
provided
We
that.
provide, even for the CART director even rejected the 6 months.
We provided.
So we're
that.
not
So-
overlooking our people. They
But-
chose not to.
Hold on.
So we have a motion.
Before we put in the motion, let me.
We have a motion.
We have a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on the motion?
Nobody- Who made a motion?
Colonel Taylor made a motion to freeze the money in the budget
Before,
until such time that the city provided evidence that they were supporting the program.
if they canceled the service,
You need to do a second, then we have discussion.
Correct. That's what I'm looking for is a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Now discussion.
Correct.
if they canceled the service, what are we freezing if it's nothing to pay?
That's right.
Jonathan said that we made a commitment to do
Since
it.
we already have it in the.
But they denied it,
Parts
then they
denied.
canceled the service, so.
Give them a chance to pay. We're gonna go, she made a,
They can reopen it.
yeah, Commissioner made a statement about,
Look at it.
they had set aside, right, Commissioner?
That's what
Yeah.
told to me. I don't know how accurate that is.
He's
That's
trying to
why I
get
asked.
100.
But when she
Yeah.
talked to the city manager, they said they did
I
not.
did, yeah, I kind of chatted with Terrell last week and it's not in their budget
Not
to
in their
fund
budget.
it. It's not.
That's what she was saying.
They never took official action on it, so it is not in their budget. That was the conversation I had with him last week. I can reconfirm just to make sure.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, right,
And we have the money
Yeah.
frozen in our budget.
right.
So we're not taking it out of our budget. We'll freeze it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to him.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye.
Right.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go back to June of 2023, the fire department freeze. So at your June 14th, 2023 meeting, there was a motion made by Commissioner Dan Brummett to freeze all vacant positions at the Vance County Fire Department, freeze the fire department budget except for salaries, operating expenses, and debt that is due. Any equipment or other spending will come before the board for approval until the fire study is complete. Freeze the 4 new part-time positions included in the budget's fire fund and no increase in the capital contribution to volunteer departments until after the fire study is complete. What I'm really looking for is, do you all want to approve or deny the continuance of the freeze? And I'm asking that because Chief Wright has reached out as it relates to struggling with staffing with part-time positions, and he wants to move forward with hiring part-time staff because he has been working to cover those shifts. And so my question is, do you all want to continue with the freeze? Because the motion says until after the fire study is complete, not until action is taken on the fire study.
What the motion said was freeze the 4 new part-time positions.
Hmm?
It did not say freeze existing part-time positions.
Okay,
So how many part-time positions are currently vacant?
I have no idea. I can only ask Chief Wright.
5.
5.
So he has the ability to hire 5 people without violating this motion.
Okay, so we just move for, you all okay with moving forward with posting the part-time positions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so do you all want to continue to have capital requests come to the committee and
Yes.
come to the board for approval? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're in the process of scheduling a meeting, I understand.
Yes, for fire study.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, next
I have,
item.
yeah. So the next thing is GPS for the sheriff's office vehicles. So I had a good conversation with Sheriff Brain today, and he is in support of installing GPS on his vehicles, except for investigators, except for his undercover, and except for the actual sheriff's vehicle. But he is in support of moving forward. So I just want to give you all that update tonight, that we will be moving forward with installation of GPS on those vehicles. And it's about 40 vehicles, and it includes sheriff's office and employees of the detention center as well.
Well,
Who we exclude?
Investigators, undercovers, as well as the sheriff's vehicle.
His bit, sheriff, his bit. Oh.
Yes. Mhm. Yep.
I'm okay with that. Meet them halfway.
Yes,
I'm
okay.
okay with that.
Okay, all right. Okay, and the last thing on my report is just the Henderson Vance Industrial Park roadway improvements. So Frankie and I went to go look at the roadway improvements Thursday of last week, and they did a really good job with those improvements. So that work is actually done, just as an update to the board.
I contacted the guy that mows the grass. And
Okay,
I'm gonna meet him tomorrow afternoon.
okay.
and
Okay.
We'll work on that. Okay,
That's it for me.
consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We did have a question on that as far as those items that were greater than 10 years.
Yes,
You'll follow-
and I have not talked to Portia yet, but I will talk to
So we'll
her.
be following up.
Yes, I'll get that for you. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And then, miscellaneous appointments, Kelly.
Yes, appointments for July. The Airport Authority, reappoint Brian Boyd. The Carts Board, reappoint Archie Taylor. And an application was received from Tydelia Hunt, who is the new Senior Center Director, to fill that vacant position. So that's 2 positions there to be filled. The Library Board of Trustees, reappoint Emily Abbott, Cynthia Walker, and Barbara Foster. And the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, reappoint Dan Brummett.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Say it again now?
What's the pleasure of the board?
No, the last one she just said. I ain't got my computer.
RTRP.
The RTRP, reappoint Dan Brummett.
And how long is that?
2 years,
How long you been on that, Dan?
1 year.
Yeah.
RT, art.
Research
Research Triangle Park.
The Research Triangle Park.
So that's include the
RTP.
Hunt person will also, that's.
Make a recommendation to
So it's-
approve the
But both of them would be on.
appointments that's presented by Kelly.
I
Okay,
second.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
All right, no other business. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Voting delegate, I'm sorry.
What in the motion?
We need a voting delegate and an alternate, I believe.
Make a motion, we appoint Sean.
We need a voting delegate and an alternate.
And a second.
We need an alternate.
I'll be the alternate, cause he gone.
You'll be the alternate? Huh?
Yeah, I'll be the alternate, cause he
Oh,
gone.
you going, Carolyn?
Yeah, I'm going.
So Sean, the delegate, and you, the alternate.
Don't you try to get sick
Motion,
of
we have a
that.
second.
Let's.
All in favor, aye.
Ah,
Opposed,
hey.
motion carries.
He all over the place anyway. So
Now, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
You just say where everybody. They're gonna be coming.
Hey, 3 hours. Is that a record?
No, that's not.
It's not.
No, back in the old days, baby, we'd be in at 9:30.